New edition of the Brickyard Live Show. We are coming to you live on YouTube right now on a Tuesday night. We appreciate all of our new subscribers, all of our subscribers still here right now. If you want to listen to us after, we're on all streaming platforms, but we are here to break down week 4 of the NFL season. That's right, we're already a quarter of the way through the NFL season, so we're going to be giving our quarterly review / reaction of each NFL team. You don't want to miss that. We're going to go over all of the games. We're going to preview the games for week 5. Big show today, but most importantly, we need to go over the top 5 worst teams or moments or just things in the NFL this week, and none other than Brick Jameson back with another top 5 worst of the NFL leading out of week 4 into 5.
And in honor of the grades that we hand out, let's talk about those who have graduated from the worst top 5 list this week. The Falcons. They were on this list last week after getting blown out by the Panthers. They get the win against the Commanders 27-13. They have graduated from the worst top 5. The Patriots. They have graduated from the worst top 5, getting a win against the Panthers. You guessed it. The Cowboys graduate from the worst top 5 after a 40-40 tie, which we're going to go over in great detail, predicting a tie yet again. The Brickyard was right yet again. And the Chiefs, why were they even on the worst top 5? We don't know. They have graduated after blowing out Lamar Jackson. So they are no longer on the worst top 5s. We knew that was a short live. But I digress. Honorable mention to ESPN, worldwide leader in sports. It's bad enough that Chris Berman only got 3 minutes every Monday night to go over all of the games. And then you cut his 3 minutes to just 1 measly minute. The disgrace for one of the greatest ESPN anchors of all time. Honorable mention goes to ESPN. Never mind all the other bullshit they're doing with the gambling and with ruining Red Zone, all the other things. ESPN, what are you doing to Chris Berman? At number 5, this team is an anomaly. They've been a regular on the worst top 5 in our seasons on the Brickyard. The Carolina Panthers. Carolina Panthers, they just blew out the Falcons after getting outscored by over 100 yards. This game, they get blown out by the Patriots, but they outgain them. They have time of possession nearly 40 minutes. They have more rushing yards. They're better on third down, and they get annihilated. So make it make sense. Of these 4 games, they've outscored their opponents 3 times, and in all of those games, they have lost. But yet the game they got outscored and outyarded, they won. So make it make sense for the Panthers. I don't know. Carolina, get yourself a better football team. At number 4, I don't have a team. I have a game of the week. How about Monday Night Football? Not 1, but 2 Monday Night Football games, and they happen to be both terrible. You have the Tylenol ball between the Jets and Dolphins, which was abysmal to watch. Justin Fields versus Tua. Tyreek Hill dies on the field practically. RIP. Hope that he recovers very well and is back to Tyreek Hill level, but we don't know. And then the Bengals getting absolutely obliterated by the Broncos in another horrible game. We'll talk about the Bengals very soon. At number 3, we have the Tennessee Titans. And, I've been very kind to rebuilding franchises, and I've been very kind to the Titans. I understand they're in rebuild. They have a rookie quarterback. But when you get shut out by the Texans, their first shutout in 15 years, when Cam Ward goes 10 for 26, when you gave up 26 to one of the worst offenses I've ever seen through the first 4 weeks, can't run the ball, can't protect their quarterback, yet they put up 26 against you. Titans, you deserve to be on this list after losing to the Texans the way that you did. At number 2, I have primetime Lamar and most of all, the Baltimore Ravens. This is your big game. This is your ability to sink the Chiefs. The Chiefs started off, they struggle, they're 1-2, and then you get absolutely obliterated. Lamar Jackson is now 1-5 against Patrick Mahomes. He had a QBR of 82 in those 6 games against him as well. But better yet, how about the Ravens defense? We talk about the history of the Ravens defense with Ed Reed and Ray Lewis and Terrell Suggs. And they have plenty of great players on that defense. Justin Matabuke, to name one particularly. And so far through the first 4 games, you gave up 41 points. You gave up 17 against the Browns, which I think should count for 40 in my opinion. And then you give up 38 points last week, and you give up 37 against the Chiefs. Where is this great Ravens defense that you've invested all this money into? So the Ravens, number 2. What the fuck are we doing, Ravens? 1-3, terrible defense, can't stop a nosebleed. Give me a break. But nobody, and I mean nobody, can be more pathetic, who have now been on the top 5 worst list 3 consecutive weeks. How about the Cincinnati Bengals? Absolutely abysmal performance following in a 48-10 blowout. You've been outscored 48-10 last week. You got outscored 28-3 this week. 3 points through the last 3 games. You had 11 penalty flags for 65 yards. Time of possession 20 minutes. Are you kidding me? 2-11 on third down. Jake Browning is terrible. Get another quarterback. Go out and get Jameis Winston so that fantasy players can finally eat. And then Chase Brown. He runs like he's in the Special Olympics at this point. The Bengals are a complete joke. And that is why the Bengals, for the second consecutive week, are the worst team according to the Brickyard.
Yeah, and that's saying something because you have to be really bad to make it on this week. Not 1, not 2, but 3 consecutive weeks. That's typically safe for the worst of the worst teams. And, teams graduated this week. And usually we do see teams like the Falcons this week. They get put on probation. They get put on the Brickyard's top 5 worst teams in the league, which is the most accurate, which is why it's so painful. So usually teams see that, just like the Bills saw how they need a run game and then added it because they saw the Brickyard. Sometimes teams graduate off the top 5 list because we do truly put the most pressure on NFL franchises because we're just right so often on this show, and it's hard to say it. And you don't want to brag at all, but at a certain point, when you keep getting every single major NFL storyline right, it's hard not to.
Exactly. And we've been right about the worst teams. We've also been right about the best teams. So, without further ado, glass half full, coming from glass half empty, the best of the best, the top 5 teams according to the Brickyard.
Yeah, so the top 5 teams according to the Brickyard. Honorable mention of a team that is not going to be on this list this week that has been on the past few weeks. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're just taking a rest this week. They had a tough loss and need to regroup. Hopefully they can earn their way back on it next week. And then the Buffalo Bills, it's hard to put them on a top 5 list because no matter how many top 5 appearances they make on the Brickyard, they're not actually going to do anything with it. So until they do something magical in the playoffs to change my mind, the Bills are kind of just honorarily left off this list. But at number 5, I have the Giants' bad luck because it is historically great. Not only do you have Jackson Dart come in throwing darts, he's using his legs. It looks like they're trying to use him like a running quarterback. It's trying to open up, just get some extra juice, extra flow to this offense because now if we can have Jackson Dart running it, we can stretch to the top with Malik. Ow, my knee burrs. And now he's out for the entire year with an injury. So he's out now. And then you had Cam Scatabo before. Like, you finally get a win versus the Chargers, who some people thought was a top 5 team, Stephen A. Smith. And now the Giants beat them in New York, and Malik Neighbors is gone. Just when you thought the Giants had some hope, just when you thought they had a chance to maybe do something, take a chance on Jackson Dart. Maybe it was just a first-time lucky rookie quarterback performance. The thing is, we'll never know because Malik Neighbors isn't there. And Wan'Dale Robinson and Jalen Hyatt aren't going to get it done for you. So you'll have a few good games now with Cam Scatabo, but it's just unfortunate how bad the Giants' luck is if you're just talking about from a grand scheme of things in the NFL. So at number 5, the Giants' luck. At number 4, thank God the Rams beat the Colts this week. I mean, we've had to listen to another week of Indiana Jones. Look at him. He went to SoFi and beat Matty Stafford and the Rams. Look at this. And then you have the Rams in this game just prove that they are one of the better teams in the NFL. We saw them go toe-to-toe with the Philadelphia Eagles, and that was a game that came down to not 1, but 2 blocked field goals against the Philadelphia Eagles team that has looked like an absolute machine at this point. And then you finally stop the hottest team in the NFL. People were putting this team in the Super Bowl, Indianapolis Colts, and right on cue, when the Colts are 3-0, they finally get knocked to 3-1. Maybe they'll start having some losses down the line here. But at number 4, we have the Rams staying in the top 5. At number 3, did you know the Chiefs only scored 30 points no times last season? Did you know that they didn't score 30 points at all until when they needed to score 30 points, which was in the AFC Championship game. And now you're going to tell me a Chiefs team that did not score 30 points all year last year is going to be a different team when their defense came out there, made the Ravens look absolutely clueless, who looked like a solid team versus the Lions. They were competing. They blew a massive lead versus the Buffalo Bills, but they're at least putting up points. Derrick Henry looked dominant, even though he has had some fumble issues. He still had some incredible games. Lamar Jackson looked like he was at that MVP level. And then the Chiefs forced Lamar to quit. He may have a hamstring injury and he may be out now. But Patrick Mahomes is now just suddenly just turning it on with Hollywood Brown and Tyquan Thornton. Of all people, what is going on? And then we're going to get Rashee Rice back for this team. You cannot tell me that there is 5 or 4 teams that could go toe-to-toe with the Kansas City Chiefs and actually beat them in the playoffs. And I think there's only 2 teams right now that could do that. And at number 2, that would be the Lions. I mean, the Lions went out there on Monday Night Football. They respond. You have a perfect setup for a meltdown. Then they could just kind of grind it out to a 30-point blowout versus the Browns. Like, you beat them by over 20 points when it seemed like you weren't even trying, and it seemed like the offense was kind of clunky for them. Like, didn't it feel like that game was kind of clunky, and then you still drop 30 points? This is a team that looks like they're going to drop 30 in their sleep. The defense is looking elite right now. Special teams is firing. So at number 2, you still have to have the Detroit Lions. And at number 1, it's the Eagles. I mean, you already get the automatic number 1 slot because you were the Super Bowl champion. Now you're one of the only undefeated teams outside the Buffalo Bills. And, you look like an absolute buzzsaw in Tampa versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, getting some revenge on them for beating you in the playoffs last year. So the Philadelphia Eagles, just because they're continuing to win, beat good teams like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, you stay at number 1.
We love it. Super Bowl champions, still the number 1 team, according to the Brickyard. Lions closely behind them. We have now seen the best of the best and the worst to start off this show. Now we're here to recap all of the games in week 4, give our first quarter grades, and then preview the beginning of the second quarter, a.k.a. week 5 of the NFL.
What an intro. It's like when the movie, you have an epic scene, epic battle in the beginning, and you see the logo flash across the screen, but we don't have the production for that yet. So subscribe and maybe we will one day.
Keyword yet. Watch our show. But Thursday Night Football, we had Seahawks and Cardinals. And every time they play, football is played, so I've heard. The Cardinals, they come back. They're right there. They have a chance to win the game. And they blow it. And then the Seahawks, even though they gave up 14 points, they still come along with the win. Jason Myers kicks a 52-yard field goal. And the Seahawks take care of the Cardinals. Early thoughts on this game. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago, my dear friend, my former roommate, actually, back in the great state of New Hampshire, he said, Kyler Murray might be the Jay Cutler of this. He might be the Jay Cutler of the NFL. I'm like, oh, that's crazy. What are you talking about? And then over the last couple of years, Kyler Murray has proceeded to get worse and worse. And in this game, he had a QBR of 73, had 2 very costly interceptions. And I'm starting to believe that Kyler Murray maybe is the Jay Cutler of the NFL. Maybe this guy was onto something. Maybe between his ears, there's more than just a nice haircut. So that was my first takeaway. Kyler Murray is not the answer. Who would have thought? Marvin Harrison looks to be the worst wide receiver taken in the first round of this last year's draft. He had a decent game in this game, but yeah, I mean, 4th overall pick. We remember who was taken ahead of Jamar Chase? Kyle Pitts. Is he going to be the Kyle Pitts of wide receivers? We don't know. Seems like it's kind of a harsh assessment, but hasn't been great. Has a lot of dropping issues so far. Him and Kyler do not have the chemistry they need. On the other side, the Seahawks, their defense stepped up when it mattered. JSN has ascended as a wide receiver 1 so far this year. Kenneth Walker had some big runs. And Sam Darnold, it wasn't just an anomaly what happened last year. He is a solid quarterback in the NFL. So Seahawks, I've been impressed with what I've seen. And the Cardinals, was I expecting to be disappointed? Yes. Was I still disappointed? Absolutely.
Yeah, and you're almost more disappointed because they came back. And for me, the Cardinals have been the epitome of spread warriors this year, where it seems like outside of the Saints game, something funny has gone on, whether it's the Carolina Panthers almost coming back to beat them. To hit the spread there, or it is the Cardinals coming back and making this a game, making the Seattle Seahawks kick a field goal to beat them. And I believe the Seahawks were at least 4.5 point favorites in this one heading
Yep.
into it. So you have them cover the spread in this one where they come all the way back. But for me, when I called Kyler Murray being the Jay Cutler kind of this era, that was when he was good too. Like the Cardinals were playing well, but I just saw them go from 7-0 and just drop it. And then his whole demeanor versus the Rams, he just has this look on his face, and it's the same look that Jay Cutler has, which is just kind of, I
Doesn't
don't
care.
care. It doesn't matter. I mean, these guys are making so much money, and some of them aren't going to care about winning. Some of them are just going to worry about looking good enough that another team is going to want to give them another 100 or even $200 million. Like, not everyone cares about playing football like that. So for me, the Cardinals are just, ugh, they're just like when you watch them play, because you know they're gonna win some games that they shouldn't. They'll have an upset in there, but they're just one of those painful teams to watch because you know they could be doing more than they should. You know they're better than they actually are. And it seems like this team is underachieving. And then you're going to have someone like Kyler Murray just go somewhere else, kind of get one more deal, fall off. James Conner is hurt now, which doesn't help you at all. And then also, I feel like when Marvin Harrison eventually leaves the Cardinals, he's just going to turn into Brandon LaFell.
Oh, ouch. That is a harsh comparison. Woof. For the
Drop
Cardinals, for me,
issues.
yeah, I mean, the thing is with the Cardinals, I've noticed is that there's other teams that are worse, but there is no franchise, and I almost put them on the worst top five, but there was a lot of teams to go over. The Cardinals are the most pathetic franchise in maybe all of pro sports because when they win, they still lose. The two wins they have this year are against the Panthers and Saints, both of which almost came back and beat them. So you didn't leave that game like, oh, what a great game by the Cardinals. And then the Seahawks game, I knew the entire game that they're not going to win this game. It doesn't matter. Whether they're up by 10 or 20, it doesn't matter. And in this game, I knew throughout the entire game that they weren't going to win. Even when there was a lead, even when there was a little bit of hope, I knew that it wasn't going to happen. It doesn't help that their fan base hates them more than actual other fan bases. They don't actually have any rivalries with any other team because in order for there to be a rivalry, it needs to be two-sided. And there's not a single team that they're actually a two-sided rivalry with. So it's just they're going to beat up on the bad teams, but not even beat up on the bad teams. They're going to give the bad teams hope, and you're still going to leave with a disappointing win. And then when you lose in the most pathetic, dog whimpering, tail tucked his legs type of fashion every single time.
Yeah. Who took the bus today, guys?
Who took the bus? Everybody in the room being millionaires, by the way. That should have been your
Yeah.
telltale sign. This is not your coach. And I don't think it's even their coach. Like, yeah, maybe it's their coach, but I don't think that's the solution. You're going to put him in there. You're still going to have a horrible owner. You're still going to have a bad GM, and your quarterback is overpaid. So you're still screwed. Doesn't matter who your coach is.
Yeah, I know. When like Zoomers are coaches, I feel like you're just gonna have a similar speech. Like the Zoomer version of Josh Gannon is just gonna be like, "Who took the Waymo today?
Who took the Waymo today?
Who took the Waymo into practice?"
Oh my God. The Cardinals are pathetic, but that game I knew very well through the start of the game. I'm like, this is the Seahawks game. Why am I even watching this
Mm,
game?
sad.
Disappointing. Lions, though, second best team according to the Brickyard, takes care of business against the Browns. Kind of played with their food a little bit to start the game, but had a big second half resurgence. My biggest thing is like the Lion, and I think we've talked about this on multiple shows already, but the Lions this season, their defense looks much better. Helps when your entire defense isn't, having band-aids on them. That helps quite a bit. No braces either. But their defense looks a lot better. I understand they're facing the Browns. Joe Flacco has his moments, but isn't quite that starting caliber quarterback anymore. But the Lions, their defense did what they needed to do. They shut down the Browns, and they've been really, their defense is really what has impressed me. I know what I get out of their offense each and every week, but each and every week their defense seems to be getting better, which excites me because this is a team that was their biggest hole last year. And if they can have a good defense this year, Lions could make the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and I think the defense is going to be the difference for this team because we already know what Jameer Gibbs is. We already know David Montgomery, Sam Laporta, Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is leading the NFL in touchdowns right now, leading all players in touchdowns. It was him and James Cook, but after this Sunday, it is now Amon-Ra St. Brown. You have Jamison Williams there, who's still getting better, which is scary. Now you have Tesla, and then every once in a while, your old friend Brock Wright will come out of the woodwork for a touchdown too. He's laying down some powerful blocks, but this team's defense is going to be where they thrive this year. That's where going to be where people underlook them, and because you look at them versus the Commanders, you have basically your only good defender at that point, or at least corner in your secondary, was Amik Robinson. And then he still got hurt. And then Anzalone was playing way too early with the injury. He was playing with the brace. But now Aiden Hutchinson still looks dominant. He's been punching out balls left and right. And they've been getting pressure and they've been getting stops when the Lions turn it over. So as long as the defense can hold it up when Jared Goff is having a tough game, just long enough for the offense to get going, because this was a game where you're coming off a huge win on Monday Night Football versus the Ravens. You come into this one, this is a game where you can typically start slow. This is where you see some of those teams get in a lull, but their defense was able to get them going instead of their offense really having to lead the charge over the past couple years for this team when they've gotten going. And they've kind of had to rely on it because it's been bend and hopefully don't break, but hopefully we can at least just hold them under 25.
Yeah, my big thing, 3 turnovers in this game, gets to the quarterback. They get 3 sacks in this game as well. If they can keep up this defensive work, then the Lions, they're going to be scary. They could go toe-to-toe with the Eagles, the Rams, and pretty much anybody else in the NFC at that point. And then how about the Patriots blowout? Patriots blow out the Panthers 42-13. Drake May has 2 touchdowns in this game. The running game gets going a little bit. Travion Henderson starting to get the ball a little bit more. And Stephon Diggs, first 100-yard game as a Patriot so far. And Patriots, they looked good. I mean, not only their defense played well, but also their receivers. I mean, Stephon Diggs, I asked, like, Stephon Diggs, can we get 70% of Stephon Diggs in Buffalo? And on Sunday, they got about 70, maybe 65% of Bills' Stephon Diggs. And if we can get that from the Patriots, we like that. Maybe before the deadline, they get another receiver. But between him and Hunter Henry, they seem to like Austin Hooper a lot as well. Travion Henderson slowly getting implemented into the team. This Patriots team is a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see it because this was a convincing win. This is this Patriots team isn't so bad after all.
Did you see the interview when Mike Vrabel was on WEEI this week?
I don't think so.
They asked him, they said, so Stephon Diggs says he feels about 50% comfortable in your system. Is that like good? And he's like, well, he immediately responds with, maybe he should just study more. Like, if you feel 50% comfortable, maybe you should study more. And then Mike Vrabel is one of the most intense coaches in the NFL. He's out there hitting pads with guys. You just had 5 turnovers last week versus the Pittsburgh Steelers in a game where you should have won. And this is a team that has aspirations to potentially go to the playoffs and win the division this year. And when you have to deal with Mike Vrabel in practice this week, where if you lose to the Panthers and Bryce Young and you play around, have another tough, shitty fair weather game, you're going to hear it again. Then he's going to bully you, because if you lose to this Panthers team at home in Gillette, you should be bullied for that. And the Patriots responded to their head coach after practice this week. They played a really good game of football. Drake May, I mean, I took him in fantasy this year as like a little gamble because I don't take QBs until like the 7th round, but Drake May is looking really nice this year. Stephon Diggs actually waking up, easing into the season so far. Hunter Henry and, Drake May already have that connection. And then the defense, special teams also had it together. I'm a strong believer that this defense is still going to continue to improve, especially when we get into the colder winter months. Gillette's going to be an even tougher place to play. And now Drake May is a big physical quarterback equipped to deal with it. And now your running back Henderson is going to get going. The more touches he gets, the better this team is going to get throughout the year.
Oh, 100%. I think he's going to eventually be their lead back. And I think he can be exactly what Ramondre Stevenson was, but that much more better. Ramondre Stevenson reminds me of back when the Lions first drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. And I'm not saying he's Jahmyr Gibbs, but they had him and Jamal Williams side by side. Ramondre Stevenson's kind of the Jamal Williams role. And I think Travion Henderson is that Gibbs player that if they can unlock him and he can be as good as I think he can be, this running game is going to take a whole nother step, which they played pretty well this game, but I think they need to – if Travion Henderson could be the lead back by the end of the season, that team's going to be really scary. But then the Ireland game, 6 a.m. for me. I did watch some of this game, actually. The Ireland game. And, of course, Aaron Rodgers came to play. 18-22, a touchdown in this game. Big play for DK Metcalf, that 80-yard run. We love that. Kenneth Gainwell with 100 yards. We love to see it. And then on the other side, the Vikings almost came back and won it. They had a big fourth quarter resurgence, but Dublin, Ireland, Steelers, Vikings to start out the international games.
Yeah, start off the international games, and I actually like this game a lot. And we saw the Steelers kind of put themselves in the category of above average in this game. I actually thought their defense looked legit in this game. Their defense has shown they're going to carry them through some spots. You're going to have entire halves where maybe they only get a field goal, but that'll be okay, especially if TJ Watt is going to be causing havoc again. And then you have Jalen Ramsey there now, and then you have corner Darius Slay on his last legs. Patrick Queen is still there. So this is still a very good defense. So if they can stay healthy throughout the year, I think this is going to be another solid Steelers team that is probably not going to make it past the first round, but I still think they're above average in this one, and they're a tough out.
I think right now between the Browns, what the Bengals have been, and then if Lamar is hurt, they have a complete runway to win that division. I mean, the Bengals are pathetic. Worst team, second week in a row. The Browns, they have their issues. And then if the Ravens can't stop a nosebleed and Lamar's hurt, I think the Steelers, it's their division to lose at this point.
The 8-1 Steelers, it's their division to tie, if you think about it.
Yeah. But onto the Falcons and Commanders game. We had Michael Penix coming back after a brutal game against the Panthers. We saw him 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bijan had another massive game, 100 receiving, 75 on the ground, absolute force of nature. Did have a couple of fumbles in this game, but got the win. Marcus Mariota starting for his second consecutive game for the Commanders. Deebo Samuel can get going a little bit, but thoughts on this game?
The Falcons got bullied for losing to the Panthers in the most embarrassing fashion possible. Not only on the Brickyard, but being put on the Brickyard's list of shame. I mean, bottom 5 in the NFL, that's pretty tough. And then you get bullied all week for losing to the Carolina Panthers. I mean, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You lost to the Panthers last week, and then Bijan Robinson coming into the year is talking about this is going to be the best offense coming into the NFL. And then after this game, he's like, we got 34 points, but we ain't even reached our potential yet. And then you have Bijan get a touchdown this one, Kyle Pitts get a touchdown, and then you also have Drake London get a touchdown and Tyler Algier. That's kind of your 4-headed monster for the Atlanta Falcons, but I just think that the Falcons are really good at home and just mid to bad on the road at this point. Like, I just think their offense is one of those teams that they're going to score a lot of points at home and then just struggle when they go into a tough environment. We saw that even versus the Vikings in Minnesota, they had some trouble moving the ball in Carolina. And that seems to be so far the number one factor is when they're at home versus away.
Yeah, that's a good observation. I think for them, their offense, their focal point is going to be Bijan. And if Bijan can keep being the way he's been, kind of being like a Christian McCaffrey-esque player receiving and running the ball effectively, then I think that's going to be their key. But for them, if they're not going to play well on the road, and they're probably going to have to play on the road because they're not going to be better than the Eagles or Lions, they're going to have to, probably most of their games are going to be on the road in the postseason. They're going to have to get it together, especially with the Bucs, with how good they are in that division. They're going to have to get better on the road if they're going to be actual contenders in this playoff run.
Is it too harsh of me to say that this team just feels like a bunch of chokers? Like Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Michael Penix. Like they just feel like a team that would choke in the playoffs.
Well, yeah. I mean, Kyle Pitts, we don't even know if Kyle Pitts is a draft success yet. We don't even, like, he was supposed to be the best tight end we've ever seen. He hasn't been that so far. Drake
He was
London's a
compared
good
to
receiver.
Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, he was the Kelvin Johnson of tight ends, even though he's like 6'5" and like 100 pounds. And then Bijan, I think Bijan is one of those guys that I don't know if he can carry an offense the way we'd like him to be. I mean, he did it in this game, but and then Drake London's a really nice receiver, but he's kind of in that T. Higgins range for me, where I think that he can be a number one, but you prefer him to be your number two, I think. So maybe they draft a wide receiver next year, but I think Drake London is somebody that I can definitely see shrinking when the time matters for them. And then Commanders, they're begging for Jaden Daniels to come back as soon as possible.
And Terry McLaurin.
That would help. And then the Bills taking care of the Saints, kind of playing with their food a little bit, but 31-19. Josh Allen, another great game, 16 of 22, 200 yards. James Cook, 117 on the ground. We got a Khalil Shakir touchdown as well. Honestly, the Saints, for me, this is a team that they are 0-4. We do expect them to be pretty bad, but through their first 4 games, even though, and we're going to go over the grades later in the show, but this has been a good, bad team. A team that has played competitively, even against the Bills. Like, I know they ended up losing, and I don't know if they covered the spread, but ultimately, the Saints team, for as bad as they are, I think they've been pretty good for the first 4 games. Spencer Rattler hasn't been terrible. He's been able to move a little bit as well. He had 50 yards on the ground. I've been impressed with how much the Saints have been. Even though they've been losing, they've been better than we thought.
Yeah, and do we have to give credit to Kellen Moore for that? I mean, this is a guy where people were really skeptical of him being a head coach, and people are skeptical of the Saints team as well. So they kind of have that in common, where there's area with their coach they have in common, they can bond with, where everyone knows this team is going to be bad. But hey, guys, let's at least go out here, try and get better every week and compete. And, the Lions with Dan Campbell, they were bad for a long time. So sometimes when you have a good head coach, you're not necessarily looking for wins. You're just looking to see how is the spirit of the team. Are we trying hard? Are we competing? And do they actually believe in themselves? And so far, this is a team that has gone out there and they haven't lost faith in themselves yet. And it is going to be a long season, so only time will tell. But I could see a stretch where the Saints win 3 games in a row and then absolutely ruin someone's hopes of getting to the playoffs. I mean, how funny would it be if the Bears played themselves all the way in the position to make it to the playoffs and then they lose to the Saints in an epic meltdown?
Oh.
I mean, it'd be hilarious. And I think this team is going to be capable of giving us a funny upset at the end of the year, whether it's spoiling the Falcons' chance at the division or maybe even Tampa.
Yeah, honest to God, this is a team that come later in the season, they could be playing spoiler ball. They're going to be out of the contention, but I can see them. They're going to beat either a really good team or they're going to break somebody's heart at the end of the season. But I'm here for either one of those arcs, to be honest.
Yeah, Giants already have 1 win, so now you can breathe comfortably. You can win a game and be okay.
Yes, and that actually brings me to my next game, Giants and Chargers. White Boy
What
Magic
happened?
is back. White Boy Magic is back in New York. Jackson Dart, he made a post about Madison Beer before the game. It was deleted shortly after. Cam Scadaboo's finally getting carries in this team. Malik Neighbors gets hurt. This team had all the hope. They were taking care of business. Kind of a defensive battle to start. I mean, the Chargers only mustered up 18 points. Justin Herbert fell off of his horse. He was playing great through the first 3 games. Not so much in this game. Amari and Hampton starting to get going. That's exciting. Quentin Johnston got going a little bit in this game. Looks to not be a fluke potentially. The Giants, they get the win. But then, of course, like with every New York loss, they win the game, but yet they still lose in the end because they lose Malik Neighbors, and that's not going to help Jackson Dart in the slightest. moving forward.
You know, you win the game, but you lose the war. And Jackson Dart looked pretty good in this game, but is this going to be beginner's luck? That's going to be the biggest question for the Giants because they were able to move the ball, and it's against a good Chargers defense. But without Malik Neighbors, how sustainable is that going to be? It's really going to rely on your defense and how long they can hold up for. But Brian Daboll keeps his job for at least another week. But honestly, I think the bigger thing to talk about is the Chargers season is officially over. You lost your right tackle and your left tackle. Sorry. And then ever since then, Justin Herbert was under fire the rest of the game. How are you going to go through an entire season without both of your starting tackles? That is a season ending injury, and not a lot of people are going to talk about it. Everyone's talking about Malik Neighbors in this game, but the Giants weren't going to do anything this year. We knew that. That wasn't ever actually realistic. But the Chargers had aspirations this year. They're actually looking pretty good. Looked like the offense was picking up, and now you're out both of your starting tackles unless you make a trade for another one and he's able to develop enough chemistry. I think it's over. Like, this is a season-ending injury, and it's devastating for this team.
It is devastating because through the first 3 games, they looked so good. Their defense was playing very well. Justin Herbert was playing early season MVP category with the stats that he was putting up. Omari and Hampton started to get going in this game at least, and then it's just gone because you also lost Rashawn Slater to start the season in training camp, and then you lose another 2 offensive linemen. It's going to be an uphill battle for them. I hope they don't turn into the Texans and their offensive line is absolutely abysmal, but especially with what we saw from the Chiefs this week, I think they're going to claw back and take that division again, but not a great start for and it's such a shame because the Chargers, they have the team. Like, I think they're a good enough team. Quinton Johnson can finally catch footballs now, and it's just over, sadly, already.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's like for the Chargers, especially because now you have your tackles. It's one thing if you lose a guard, that's an interior position, but both your edge protection for Justin Herbert being out is definitely going to hurt. And it might hurt Justin Herbert in the end of it because he's going to get sacked a lot more now, which you don't want to see. But he's struggled with injuries before.
Yeah, he's had a few injuries. He was out last year. He got banged up last year. He got banged up the year before. I hate to see that. I wouldn't want to see him get hurt, but they got to figure out their offensive line or else they're not going to be able to make a deep push into the playoffs. But speaking of push, Eagles and Bucks. Eagles moved to 4-0. We had Jalen Hurts, 62 rushing yards. Dallas Goedert with 2 touchdowns in this game. Bucks almost claw back at the end of it. They had a good second half, but ultimately fall short. But Eagles now 4-0. Super Bowl hangover. Doesn't look like it so far.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it so far. And with this team, I think the one thing you can point to is their defense being better this year than it was last year. When you have players like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis look like they're improving a little bit, especially Cooper DeJean at corner now. Him and Baker Mayfield going at it, trash talking this week. So the Eagles defense looks good. In this game, they're pretty much in control. The one critique people had for them was they let Tampa back, but overall, this was a hard fought battle. You went to Tampa Bay, who was hungry for a win in this one. They just had 3 straight wins in a row. They dropped to 3-1, but overall for Tampa, it looked like you just lost to a better team. But at the end of the day, Mike Evans isn't there. Baker had a bad turnover where he could have checked it down to Bucky Irving, but ends up throwing it into a crowd of people in the end zone. Pretty much the game-ending interception that seals it for the Eagles. But overall, really entertaining game. In my opinion, really hasn't changed of either team so far. And if anything, I gained more respect for the Philadelphia Eagles because even though Saquon Barkley isn't playing well, he's only averaging about 3 yards a carry. The offense is still fine. Devontae Smith looks like he's a lot better this year than he ever was last season too, which is definitely going to help, especially if you still are exploring potentially trading AJ Brown because he's just seems like there's always been a rift there with him and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, there's definitely a rift there. They don't always utilize him in every game plan. And I think for the Eagles, they're better off. They might actually be better off without A.J. Brown. If they can get a decent receiver core around him, you still have Devontae Smith. Dallas Goedert has been effective for you as well. Saquon's also a very great receiving back as well. So if they can get a receiver and then some draft capital, I think the Patriots should give him a call. I think the Patriots could benefit from an A.J. Brown. I think maybe the Chiefs want to give him a call if they are unsure about Rashee Rice and his return from the suspension that he has. But ultimately, I think the Eagles might benefit more without A.J. Brown. But otherwise, their offense hasn't missed a beat, even with Saquon's struggles, even with A.J. Brown. So they just seem like they're a unit that just fires on all cylinders 24/7.
Yeah, so until further notice, they are the #1 contender.
Yes, according to the Brickyard. Second week in a row. And then both teams entering this week are 0-3. AFC South, Titans and Texans. Texans offense has looked abysmal, but they put up 26, a lot of this in the fourth quarter. But Cam Ward gets shut out, first shutout for the Texans in 15 years. Not a great sight, and it really sucks. I didn't want to, weigh on them in the worst top 5, but it sucks. Their receiver core is awful for them. It's not doing them any favors. Their running game isn't great either. Their offensive line isn't really great, nor is their defense. This was just kind of a tough watch. I feel for the Titans, but they're just not there yet. And the Texans, they still didn't look great. I mean, the first 3 quarters, they mustered up 6 points. Their defense is always going to be good, but I'm still not overly impressed with this Texans team, even after this win. I don't even know if they'll still claw back and win this division.
Yeah, I mean, I still think they can, because the Colts, I don't think when push comes to shove with Daniel Jones, he's really going to be putting the money where this team has been the first 3 weeks of the NFL season, which is basically the preseason, where all the actual teams are fine tuning their craft. And then also, the Jaguars just look frantic at this point. So the Texans, their defense has shown that it is capable of being the best defense in the NFL. Last season, we did see with the Houston Texans, they had a slump offensively, similar to what the Cincinnati Bengals have done. And you don't ever want your team to fall into the trap, but it just seems like they're going to be a team that's going to start out slow each year. We're going to have this drama with the Texans. Will they, won't they? But I still believe in them more in a tough must-win matchup than the Colts or the Jaguars at this point. Like, even though their offense has struggled, you still have an elite defense. And when it comes down to it, it's still going to be a playoff defense. And this team looked dead at the end of last season when they won their division. Everyone picked the Chargers to beat them, including myself, and the Texans came out and then came away with 4 interceptions, ended up winning that game. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't call them dead yet.
Well, next week they face the Ravens and then the Seahawks. Schedule looks to get a little bit easier following that. So maybe they come back. Starting off 0-3 is not great. Their offense hasn't been great either. But this is a good step in the right direction, I would say, for the Texans here. Speaking of AFC South teams, the Colts, Indiana Jones, and then against the Rams here, Matt Stafford, masterclass, 375, 3 touchdowns. Kyron Williams gets it going. Puka Nacua has the best stats so far of a wide receiver to start the season. This is a game where this Colts team, I didn't expect them to beat the Rams. However, there was a lot of moments in this game where I felt like the Colts had it right there. They fumbled right as they were walking into the end zone, which was just like, what are we doing? This is like fundamental football. I don't know what they were doing there. Then they had a couple of flags.
Had like a critical holding too that stopped them from picking up a first down. Then it ended up being like 3rd and long. It was like the same guy lost the game for them.
Yeah, and it was that big Jonathan Taylor run. He had like a 50-yard run, and it got called back because of that hold. Just absolutely ruining that game. But the Colts, they played better than I expected, so I'll give credit there. But Daniel Jones still had 2 interceptions. They had a number of fumbles in this game as well, including from Daniel Jones. So I still think this Colts team is a September Warrior. But in this game, I think there was a lot of missed opportunities there. They could have potentially came away with the win there, but between the Tony Mitchell boneheaded fumble and then the hold, I mean, that alone is what cost you the game.
Yeah, I think 2 things with the Colts this year to take away from this game is their defense is actually a lot better than it has been in years past. Don't forget, Lou Anarumo took his talents from Cincinnati, right across the bridge to Indianapolis, and he had been an excellent defensive coordinator for them. He came up with their strategy when they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and now he's coaching with the Indianapolis Colts. So their defense looks like it's actually taking a step forward this year, which is why they were able to compete with the Rams, because they actually held them back a little bit. And that allows you to deal with 1, 2, maybe 3 Daniel Jones turnovers, because don't underestimate how a top 5 running back can make a quarterback look. Because Jonathan Taylor is playing elite this season. He looks explosive. Every time I see him on Red Zone or when I rewatch the Colts highlights, he's jumping off the screen. And when you have a running back like that and your defense is improving, you can put up with a lot from the quarterback, and maybe you're not going to be able to go far in the playoffs, but you never know, because Nick Foles has won a Super Bowl and almost won another playoff game as well versus the Saints. So for me, with this team, I don't know. I think it's the defense and the running back, and that can actually get you to the playoffs, but I think you'd get blown out in the first round.
Yeah, I don't believe in them as a contender, but I think that they are a team that can win the division. I still don't trust the Jags. We're going to talk about them next, but it all comes down to can Indiana Jones, as they've coined him now, famously, is he going to be what he's been the last previous 3 weeks, or what we saw with the Rams game? Because he still had his turnovers in this game, and that's been the biggest downfall of Daniel Jones in his career. He had the most fumbles, most interceptions in the league. So next week, I guess, is where we're going to see the real Colts. Now that they've lost their game, they've lost their magic. Can they rebound, or are the Colts team what we expected them to be when we previewed them previously?
We'll see.
We'll see. But the Jags are now 3-1. The Jags,
Congrats.
big game for Travis Etienne. Brian Thomas Jr. woke up a little bit, still has some room for improvement, but they get the win against the Niners. A little bit of cackling back and forth between Robert Saleh and Liam Cohen. But Jags are now 3-1. Do we believe in the Jags yet, or are they also September Warriors?
How can you watch this Jaguars team and not think frantic? Like, anytime I watch this Jacksonville Jaguars team, I get anxious. It just seems like something is missing. I don't know if it's just how Trevor Lawrence looks on the field when he walks out and how he's playing, just his facial expressions that he's making. But every time I watch the Jacksonville Jaguars, this just looks like a frantic team. He's making throws, trying to force it. Players are dropping it. You don't really have that consistent offense where you know what it is and what you're getting week in and week out. The defense has its ebbs and flows. You have chaotic plays happening on special teams. Like, this doesn't feel like a real team for me. Like, this is a entertaining watch, and you can't say it's not entertaining, but this is just a team that just is weird. They're confusing, and I really don't know what to make of them so far. It's like they seem like a good team that's just playing really bad right now. And it's like, it's not like they played terrible either, but I don't know, it just feels off.
Yeah, they're the team that of all the teams in the NFL, they're the team that I cannot grasp. Because on one end, right, I do like Travis Etienne, I do like BTJ, but on the other hand, like, I don't know what to. Trevor Lawrence any given week can throw for 300 yards. He can also throw 4 interceptions. So I don't know what I get out of the Jags each and every week. I've been impressed with their defense so far. They made some good plays against the 49ers. But again, this isn't a team that I can see them doing the same thing next week. Next week they can get blown out, and I wouldn't be surprised. So, like, putting my finger on who the Jags are, I just don't know what I'm going to get each and every week.
Yeah, and also, what was that from Robert Saleh where he's like, the Jaguars steal plays, but actually it's not stealing because it's legal. So they study film. You're protecting yourself from a loss. Like, what is that, man? What's happening? Like, why would you say that? Liam Cohen has to come out like, yeah, whatever. It's weird a little bit. It seemed like they got into it after the game, but that just seems like the reason why you aren't a head coach in the NFL. It's just dumb shit like that. You're a head coach of the Jets, and then you're an offensive coordinator, and you think another team's going to want to hire you because they see you bitching and moaning about another coach stealing plays in the press conference, and then, oh, it's not actually stealing. Actually, it's legal, but I'm gonna cry about it anyways.
Yeah, I don't understand what was going on there. I don't know if they have bad blood. I don't know if they've coached in the past with each other. They don't get along. I don't know what was going on there, but that was a complete nightmare. Bad look for Robert Saleh. Not a great look for the Niners either. And they get their first loss of the season. But I don't know. I think Christian McCaffrey might have lost a potential step. Maybe he's not the same Christian McCaffrey. They got a lot of injuries as well. I just don't know the Niners either. They look to be a kind of a mess as well, especially with Brock Purdy being kind of banged up as well.
Yeah, they just need help. They're just too injured.
Yeah. But Ravens Chiefs, we talked about both of these teams in the best of the Brickyard and the worst. But the Chiefs are back. Who would have thought? They graduated from the worst top five. Mahomes had a masterclass game, 4 touchdowns, 0 picks. Xavier Worthy was getting it going in this game as well. And then on the other side, Lamar Jackson do what he does against the Chiefs. He turned into a pumpkin, and it was not a great sight to see. 20 points, and then he gets hurt in this game as well. Their defense shows to be absolutely abysmal. Can't stop anybody at this point. And the Ravens now are 1-3. They don't look great. Their defense looks bad. Lamar could be hurt, could be out a couple of weeks as well. You're going to rely on Cooper Rush as your quarterback at this point. Ravens worry me in this game. And the Chiefs, they just look like they're back to normal. They look fine. They're going to be okay. I overestimated them last week, but they're back. They're good.
Patrick Mahomes is so mean. I mean, like him in this game, he's playing with C minus wide receivers to be generous. He's playing with guys that are a bad day away from going to the practice squad. Then he drops over 30 points versus the Ravens, which is something they did not do at all last year. They have another rookie wide receiver come in this game, and he looked like he was pretty good for them, and he's actually going to come out and play well. And then the Chiefs are just shattering the Ravens and the Bills' hopes this year because the Bills finally thought maybe maybe it's our time we can get to the Super Bowl this year and Patrick won't play well and the Chiefs will be old. No, we're just the same old Chiefs, and we come out there, destroy the Ravens, and then now the Buffalo Bills have to actually look out and be like, oh, okay. And then the Chargers lose their right tackle. The Broncos have underperformed where now they're just tied with the Kansas City Chiefs. You're not winning the division if you're tied at week 4 with the Kansas City Chiefs. You need to be up 2 games on them at this point if you want to win the division. So it just seemed like they toyed with the entire NFL. Like, yeah, we'll look bad for the first 3 weeks, even though we didn't score over 30 points. Like, keep talking like you did last year. And their defense, still the same defense, still looks elite, still looks like Steve Spagnuolo is the defensive coordinator and should be a head coach somewhere, and everyone's confused why he isn't.
And let's not forget, in 3 games from now, they also get Rashid Rice back from suspension. So he's going to come back, and then that's going to solve a lot of their receiver problems because then Hollywood can be your number 2. Tyquan Thornton, who has played well for them, he can be your number 3 moving forward. Travis
Or
Kelce can be a
5
fine
with
number
4.
4. Yeah, like he can still be your number 3 or 4. And sooner or later, like the Chiefs are just going to be back to being that wagon that they've been. So this was a wake-up call. The Chiefs are back. They're not dead. They're doing okay. They destroyed the Ravens in this game, and I don't know who could have possibly doubted them. I don't know. That's crazy.
They're upset. They were
They were
mad. They
upset.
didn't even drop 30 last year. They dropped 30 points this week for you.
They did. They said, why are we on the worst top 5? Why are we in the same conversation as the Bengals and Panthers and Raiders and Bears? Well, I guess we can transition to this game. Bears and Raiders. Chaotic game is all I can call this. I don't even know where I could put my thumb on it. 25-24, they blocked the field goal to win the game, but neither of these teams are good football teams, I would say. Caleb Williams is an anomaly for me as well because I see the talent with Caleb Williams, but yet it just doesn't seem like him and Ben Johnson have yet to meld it together. Every time they have a good week, which I would say last week was one of those games, even though they're now starting to win football games, I still just don't believe in this Bears team. I think they're fraudulent, and they're prone to just be a team that just chokes in big moments. And I don't think that's going to change this game. Roma Dunze is starting to get it together, I suppose, but I don't know. This Bears team, I just can't put my finger on what exactly is wrong with them. Not on the Raiders side. Ashton Genty wakes up. He starts to run the football effectively now. Brock Bowers starts to get going. But Geno Smith, 3 interceptions, and that's what ultimately cost the Raiders at the end.
Yeah, Geno Smith leading the league in interceptions at this point. And it's not great for the Raiders because I said last week that there's no way Max Crosby would let the Raiders lose to Caleb Williams of all people. Like, you can't lose to Caleb Williams, especially if you're someone like Max Crosby, but he did everything he could. He probably had one of the best games he's ever played in his career, for being honest, when it comes to forcing turnovers, batting down passes. And then, the Bears actually played well in this game versus a really terrible Raiders team. So at least you look competitive. At least the Bears actually look fun. But the thing that should concern you for the Chicago Bears is that D Swift looked good in this game. And that might happen one or two more times the rest of the season. So now you have to think about it. Well, we only have 2 or 3 more games where D Swift is actually going to look good. So he better look good at the right time. So you really have to time that for the Chicago Bears. And then the Raiders, oh my God, if you give Ashton Genty the ball in space, he might actually do something. You figured it out. A good running back who can make people miss. Maybe sometimes you just need to get him in space where he can make a play one-on-one, and then you finally unlocked him, and you're going to have to lean on Ashton Genty, especially because we can't throw it every single time with Geno Smith. When you have an elite running back that you took it in the first round, when Geno Smith is now throwing about 3 picks a game.
Yeah. And honestly, like every other game to this point, they're throwing the ball 40 times, 50 times. They're like, wait a minute. I have an idea. Why don't we give it to the number 1 running back in last year's draft, Ashton Genty, and see what happens? And look what they did. They gave him 20 carries. He had 140 yards. He also got it going on the ground as well. So, like, maybe, just maybe, Ashton Genty is the focal point of your offense. And then if you are going to throw the ball, rely on Brock Bowers because he's probably your best receiver. Jacoby Myers can be your 2, as he probably rightfully should be. And maybe the Raiders will be effective. But they still fall in this game. Geno Smith, 7 interceptions to start the season. Not a good look for them. But the Raiders fall to the Bears. And then we were right. Where was the Brickyard right? We predicted that there will be a tie in the NFL this season in this week 4. And what did we get? Arguably the greatest game that ended in a tie in the history of the NFL. 40-40 Packers Cowboys. Jordan, I believe in a thing called love. 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. Dak Prescott, you guessed it, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. Running the ball, Josh Jacobs with 2 touchdowns. We had Romeo guarding Cap Dobbs in this game as well. George Pickens with some of the greatest catches you've ever seen by a wide receiver. Even without CeeDee Lamb, they still put up 40 points. What an absolute cinematic Sunday Night Football game. Maybe the best Sunday Night Football game of the year so far.
Yeah, no, we've had some pretty good Sunday Night Football games, but this one's definitely up there. It's just, how do you feel about a tie? It's like one of those things you wish for it for so long, and then we predict that there was going to be a tie this weekend on the Brickyard, and then when you get it, you're just kind of there, empty. Doesn't
It's
feel
so
right.
stupid.
It's uncomfortable. And then Dak and Jordan Love walk out, and they're like, what did you think of your performance in the tie? Like, gay. I didn't like it.
I mean, they both played great. Their numbers are basically identical. They both ran the football effectively. Neither one of them could get a stop against the other one. This was cinematic in a lot of ways, but for me, like, I don't understand how hockey can have shootouts and it be a great overtime. Baseball can go to extra innings and it can be super exciting in baseball. Basketball just keeps playing until somebody hits a game winner. But yet in football, arguably the best sport in all of the land, and we can't figure out what to do when there's a tie score after the end of regulation and overtime. We can't think of like, wait a minute. What if we made the kicker more valuable and we just do a kickoff where they start out with a 20-yard field goal and then 25, all the way up to, honestly, Brandon Aubrey could probably kick a 70-yard field goal pretty easily.
It should start at 50.
Why not just exchange blows with 50-yard field goals? I don't understand why they can't do that. I don't understand how, after all these years of football innovation, all the great things that they've done for the sport, why the tie is still a thing and why people are honored by the tie. Because now I look at the Cowboys and they're 1-2-1. I'm like, well, are they 2-2 or are they 1-3? Now with the Packers, are they 2-2 or are they 3-1? The tie ruins everything when it comes to seeding. I don't understand why they can't just come up with a solution. I don't understand,
Yeah,
and it's actually disgraceful.
you know the answer to that? Like, are they 2-2 or 3-1?
What is it?
Yes,
Yes.
they
Yeah,
are.
exactly. It's fucking stupid. And now when it comes to seating later on, it's going to ruin it for everybody. It doesn't just ruin it for them, it ruins it for every other team involved because they might be above or below this team because of the fact that they got a tie. It's the dumbest thing, and I actually despise it, to be
uh,
honest.
especially a pristine division like the NFC North. We expect this from the Bears. We even expect the occasional tie from the Vikings, but the Packers? Shame on you. I mean, you had the ball with about 5 minutes left in overtime, and then you're acting like the clock doesn't even matter. And then you end up letting the clock run all the way down where you don't even have a shot at the end zone. And then it was more important for you to tie than actually go for the win in this one, where the Packers just wasted the clock in this one. We don't want to let the Cowboys have a chance to get it again. Well, even if they have a chance to get it again, you'll have a field goal. You just have to believe in your defense at this point. But we're out here to win games. And the fact that it looked like the Packers just kind of went for a tie, that's why Matt LaFleur loses in the first round every single year outside of the time he beat the Cowboys with Jordan Love. And for the people that are going to be like, oh, well, why would you let the kicker decide the game after, instead of a tie when you do a kicking competition? Like, you shouldn't make the kicker that important. Like, well, if you're about to tie and you can't resolve it in 70 minutes of play at this point, if you can't resolve it in 70 minutes, you deserve to lose because of your kicker, which brings in another thing I think should be relevant. I think sports have a few positions that should be allowed to do steroids. One of them is goalie in hockey, the other one is kicker and punter in football. I mean, why can kickers not take steroids? Are you out of your mind? I want to see an 80-yard field goal. Everyone wants to see a 70-yard field goal. I mean, you make it interesting. All right, we're going to make it a kicking competition. And because of that, now we're going to allow kickers to do steroids so we don't have ties anymore.
I like this idea. And Brandon Aubrey actually is the guy that should be the specimen here because he is the best. He could go down as the greatest kicker of all time already. Already can go down as the greatest kicker of all time, potentially. And for them, like they can kick a field goal when they're on the opponent or on their own 45, and he can probably still make it. So imagine if everyone takes steroids if you're a kicker and they can all kick 70-yard field goals. How is that not good for the sport? Especially now that they start at the 35-yard line. If it goes as a touchback, all you need is a first down, and Brandon Aubrey can get you 3 points. That's good for the sport. And then if it comes down to the kickoff, and it comes down to Brandon Aubrey and Brandon McManus. Why is that? Why would that be a bad thing? I mean, we have this with goalies in the NFL and the NHL, right? Where it comes down to can their goalie get a stop, or your wingman can they get a goal against this other goalie? Like it, I think that honestly, the NHL has the best overtime rules in all of the sports, as far as I'm concerned. Also, because of this rule, if we implement it, all of these kickers are going to go from making like, I don't know, $5-6 million a year to be making like 15 to $20 million potentially. Because God forbid it
Mm.
comes down to this overtime rule, they have to have the best kicker, or else they're going to be screwed. And this is where the Cowboys would have the advantage because Brandon Aubrey is going to make 70-yard field goals, and Brandon McManus could struggle at 50 yards potentially.
Yeah, not only are we resolving the Chiefs and the Falcons problems this week, we're also getting kickers paid on the Brickyard podcast. That's
You're
why you
welcome.
should definitely subscribe. We're going to get your favorite kicker paid. But yeah, I definitely like the ideas there. And then
I
Monday
do as
Night
well.
Football, we have two of the worst games. And honestly, neither of these games deserve our time, really. We just kind of deserve to say, why would you do this? We had Tua versus Justin Fields, and then we had Bo Nix and the Broncos go 28-3 on the Cincinnati Bengals versus Jake Browning and the Cincinnati Bengals. Why would you do this to us? Okay, if Joe Burrow plays versus the Broncos, that's one thing I could understand, but you could have just moved this game. Like, actually, we're going to move this game back into the 1 o'clock slate because Joe Burrow isn't there. And then, you have Tyreek Hill die on the field because of how horrific the Monday night doubleheaders are. They need to stop with the Monday night doubleheaders. I feel like this is the one week you can point to where you have an abysmal game with Justin Fields trying his best to be an NFL quarterback, and then you have Tyreek Hill not make it out alive, and then you just have the Bengals quit on national television, and you kept your head coach.
Yeah, first of all, the Tylenol Bowl that was the Jets and Dolphins game, Justin Fields did as much as he possibly could. 80 yards, got a couple of touchdowns. The Jets, it's a shame. It sucks because the Jets, like, I know they play hard, but they're the Jets. They're going to just not be great. They had 3 turnovers in this game as well. And then the Dolphins. I've never seen somebody literally have their leg go the opposite way and them clapping because they're done playing for the Dolphins, most likely. We might not see the same Tyreek Hill ever again, especially the one that we saw for the Chiefs. Like, his career might not be the same when he returns. And that's a sad thing to think about because Tyreek Hill is arguably the best receiver of our generation. But I've never seen somebody be like, yes, I'm freed from the Dolphins because I no longer have to play another game for this team. I'm out for the season. You know for a fact he's not coming back next year. But prayers out for Tyreek Hill. This game, I don't have anything else to say. Tua was terrible, and the Jets are terrible as well. But Tyreek Hill, prayers for you. The Broncos game. Boy, do I got a story for the Broncos game because I went into Monday night only needing 16 points between the Broncos defense and the number 1 wide receiver in last year's fantasy, Jamar Chase. And I'm facing my dear friend, Devin Eldred. If you look at the logo, he made that. Thank you, Devin, for making the logo. But all I needed
also
was
the number 1 pick in like every league too, Jamar.
He was a keeper for my league. All I needed was 17 points. I was losing 132 to 149 point something. And I got 16.3 points amongst the Broncos D and Jamar Chase. 16.3. So I lost by 0.7 points. And keep in mind, everyone has a Devin Eldred in their league. The one that talks the most shit when they're winning and the one that cries the most when they lose. He's the guy that I was facing. And I was talking all this shit, and he was talking all this shit, as we do. And what do you know? Lo and behold, it's the end of the game. I check. I'm like, surely Jamar Chase got one more catch for us to win the game. Nope. I lose by 0.7, and he starts chirping. And it's been nothing but carnage in the fantasy football group chat ever since. And it's been disgusting. Every time, and I had the Broncos D as well, so I didn't want the Bengals to do crazy. But I'm like, you know what? Give me a Jamar Chase touchdown. All is well. Broncos can do the rest. The Broncos, they scored 10. They did everything they needed to. Jamar Chase, how many targets did this man have? Jamar Chase had 8 targets, dropped 2 of them. He had 23 receiving yards. If Jamar Chase had 30 receiving yards, I win the game. If Jamar Chase had 6 catches instead of 5, I win the game. But instead, because Jake Browning is a horrible quarterback, I'm sorry. I understand we have love for Jake Browning. He played great when he filled in for him a couple of years ago. Jake Browning is not the answer for the Bengals, nor is Chase Brown, who runs like he's a paraplegic at this point. And then Zach Taylor. I mean, this is a game where I watch Zach Taylor as a head coach, and I fire him immediately. That was disgraceful. On live television, we have millions of fans watching this game, and the Bengals just gave up. That was the most pathetic performance I have seen from a team that everyone wants to anoint as a playoff team because they were good 4 years ago and made the Super Bowl 4 years ago. People still want to hold out hope for the Bengals. The Bengals are a complete joke at this point. And I'm completely off the bandwagon. Bengals can go fuck themselves. Jamar Chase, fuck you. You're never going to be a poon slayer again. And yeah, I'm very mad with the Bengals. Bengals are not on my good graces, and they're probably going to be glued to the worst top 5 for a long time.
But you have to admit, Jamar Chase after the game saying, "Don't be mad at me, y'all." Has to make up for it, right? It has to make up for his 8 targets and 2 catches, right? Jamar Chase saying, "Y'all don't be mad at me."
Well, I am mad at you, Jamar Chase. One catch. He had one catch. He only needed one more catch, and I win the game. All the smack talk. I put up almost 150 points that week,
That's a
and I
lot
lose.
for a 10-man league, right?
Yes, I almost put up
That's a lot.
150 points. Yes. You know who got it done for me? Amarian Hampton. Josh Allen got it done for me. All these other
You
guys
have to
got
be
it
the
done.
second highest scoring team that week too, I'd imagine.
You guessed it. You guessed it. Second highest, but not to Eldred by 0.7 points. So, yeah, safe to say the Bengals are on my shit list. But you know what? The Broncos, defensively, they played great. J.K. Dobbins played great. R.J. Harvey starting to get going for them. Rookie, who I'm very high on as well. Bo Nix played pretty well as well. So the Broncos did everything they needed to do. I'm happy. Broncos we have pretty highly in our early season preview, but the Bengals, man. Fuck the Bengals.
Yeah, and I couldn't have said it better myself. But that is all of the games for week 4, and that brings us out of quarter 1. Now we are here to go over every single team for about the next 20 minutes or so here. We're just going to give us our overall quarterly grade and sentiment. Was this real? Do we think they'll survive going into the year? So I say we just start in the AFC North, which has kind of been a debacle of a division. So easy one for you. The Browns, quarter 1. How would you rate their performance overall at 0-4?
Well, they
Or
lose to the
1-3?
Bengals. Well, they haven't put up more than 17 points in any game. The highest scoring was against the Ravens. I'm giving them a D. I mean, I didn't expect much from them, but I mean, I don't know. It looks like Dylan Gabriel is going to be their starter moving forward. Their defense is still played pretty well for the most part, although they got shelled by the Lions and Ravens so far. But what did I expect? I mean, what do you expect from the Browns? I'm not going to give them an F because we expected this. So a D. A D is fair for the Browns.
Yeah, I would give them a N for Nepo Baby crying on the sideline. When you have Shador Sanders talking about how he should be a starting quarterback, how he doesn't want to go to the Ravens because he doesn't want to be Lamar Jackson, even though Lamar pulled a hamstring. So it could have been entering into a system with the Ravens where he's handing the ball off to Derrick Henry. Like, this is just a team with the Browns where if Dylan Gabriel comes in, sure, it'll be fine. But overall, it's just a lost season. I don't understand what the direction is with Kevin Stefanski. I really should give you a WB, not for Warner Brothers, for without Baker, because you fucked up ever since he left.
Yeah, who would have thought trading for a serial rapist would have gone so poorly for the Browns? How about the Ravens? What do we give the Ravens grade? I am giving them an F. Their defense is terrible. Lamar Jackson is hurt. They're 1-3. The only win is against the Browns. Every other game, which is against playoff opponents, they blew a 15-point lead to the Bills. They got stomped on by the Lions, and then the Chiefs, they just got embarrassed by them. So they get an F. What else? What other grade do they deserve, frankly?
Yeah, they get an F, and the Ravens this year, Lamar was the new look at all of his arm angles guy so far this season. Now he's maybe sidelined with a hamstring injury, or he's quitting on the Ravens. We don't know, but hopefully he's getting better and he'll be back on the field soon. But yeah, it's a F so far. You lose to the Lions, you lose to the Bills, you lose to the Chiefs. Every single legit team you played to, you lost to. Yeah.
All right. And the Bengals. The Bengals get an E for. Well, no, you know what? No, they get 2 letters. They get an F and they get a U. Fuck you, Bengals. What you did to me this week and what you've done this week. I mean, yes, you're 2-2, which is great for September standards, but you beat the Browns and Jaguars, 2 of the most pathetic franchises over the last 25 years. Otherwise, you got embarrassed by the Vikings, 48-10, and then you get embarrassed by the Broncos, 28-3. You scored 13 points over the last 2 weeks, even though you're paying Jamar Chase $40 million, even though you're paying T. Higgins another $25 million. No, the Bengals get an F and a U. Fuck the Bengals. Bengals can fucking blow me for all I care.
Yeah, the Bengals get a FYC for me. Fire your coach. How many more times do we need to see Zach Taylor on the sideline? Dude,
Idiot.
he's just gonna be that old guy you're gonna see outside a restaurant.
Always got his mouth
He just
open.
looks like he's dying, waiting for his wife, just mouth breathing in the sun. No, fire your coach at this point.
And then the Steelers. The Steelers, they got a win against the Jets in week 1, had a tough game against the Seahawks, gritty game against the Patriots where they probably should have lost, and then the Vikings. I'm going to give them a B. Aaron Rodgers has played fairly well. He looks like maybe the issues he had the last 2 years was because of the Jets. Maybe it was just the Jets' fault, who don't necessarily manufacture talent for the quarterback position. 8 touchdowns, 3 picks, QBR of 100. Back to kind of the old Green Bay Aaron Rodgers to some extent. So I'm going to give him a B. I've been fairly impressed with what I've seen from the Steelers so far.
I'm gonna give them a B plus. Good job, guys. You didn't study for the test and you still did really good. Good job, Steelers. And you may actually, because of a case of injury-itis, win your division this year because Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson aren't there, which just leaves Aaron Rodgers and Dylan Gabriel and Tyler Huntley. Good job, guys.
Good job. Process of elimination. And then let's go to the AFC East because there's a lot of bad grades there. They're going to need to study up. The Jets, 0-4 for them. And for me, for the Jets, honestly, even though they are 0-4, I think there's another team in this division that deserves a worse grade. So I'm going to give them a D- because they had, they've had a close game against the Steelers, close game against the Bucks, and a fairly close game against the Dolphins. I will give them a D-. Justin Fields is not the answer. We knew that. Aaron Glenn is not their answer at head coach. We knew that. So I didn't learn anything new from them. You get a D.
Yeah, I'm going to give them a K for just like Jesus and 11 of his apostles. They've all been killed and they've gotten killed in all of their games.
I like it. And how about the Miami Dolphins? I don't think there's a low enough letter grade to give them because they have been pathetic. And yes, it's great that you beat up on the Jets. Welcome to the NFL. That is what every NFL franchise has done for 60 years. But other than that, you get killed by the Colts. You lose to the Patriots, who are technically in a rebuild. And then you get killed by the Bills. And then you beat the Jets. Tua has looked terrible. Tyreek Hill is dead, unfortunately. And other than that, Tua has the worst contract in the NFL. Your head coach is a moron. So I don't even know. You get an NC-17 rating. You shouldn't even be seen in movie theaters at this point.
Yeah, no, this kind of reminds me. I feel like Batman in the Lego Batman with Will Arnett when he's trying to figure out a way to send Joker to the Phantom Zone. And I wish I could send the Miami Dolphins to the Phantom Zone. So I am going to give them a S for send this team to the Phantom Zone, make them disappear because even when they win, it's an abysmal, unwatchable game. And I actually like the aesthetic of the Black Dolphin, but for some reason for that game, it just made me really mad and it just ruined the aesthetic of the game for some reason.
Yeah, that uniform is tight, but they did ruin that for me too. And then how about the Patriots? They fall to the Raiders in week 1. It's week 1. Beat the Dolphins in week 2. Tough game against the Steelers. They could have pulled out if they didn't have 5 turnovers. And then they just destroyed the Panthers. For me, I think they're a passing grade because I think that they're on the ascendance, especially after week 4. They do face the Bills next week. This will be the telltale sign whether they're a legitimate team. We cover them for Sunday Night Football. For now, I'm going to give them, I think a B is fine for them. They're passing. They're doing fine for where they are. Stephon Diggs is getting going. I think there's more to improve upon. I'll give them a B.
Yeah, I'll give them a B minus because you should be 3-1 coming out of it, and there's a chance you could have taken the victory versus the Raiders here. So I do actually have higher expectations of this New England Patriots team. You should be 3-1 at this point. So I'm going to give you a B minus. It's passing. This is a team that's definitely going to get better throughout the year, but I'm going to hold them to a tough standard. You have a new head coach, and I expect a lot of the Drake Mayflower Patriots this year.
All right. And then the Bills, 4-0, one of only two teams that are 4-0. I'm going to give them an A minus, only because they faced three teams that are not going to make the playoffs: the Jets, Dolphins, and Saints. And with the Dolphins and Saints, they kind of play with their food a little bit. They should be a team that should be vying for the 1 seed. And maybe this is me being a little nitpicky. Maybe it's an A grade, but they're 4-0. Josh Allen's look really good. James Cook has looked really great for them as well. He's got the most touchdowns by a running back in the league so far. I think an A minus or an A is fair for them.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give them an A plus because they gave us that spectacular Sunday Night Football comeback versus the Ravens. So the Bills have been fairly entertaining this year on prime time. They let the Miami Dolphins keep it interesting because they do want Mike McDaniels and Tua to be the duo there going forward for at least the next year. So if the Bills can help facilitate that, they're more than happy to. Not at the expense of a loss, but just making the Dolphins look competitive against the top 5 team in the NFL, arguably. So I'll give them an A plus here. I think they've done everything possible they could. Didn't have a turnover until week 3, which I like. James Cook is top 5 in the league as far as touchdowns this year. So overall, really the Bills, like, you kind of have to nitpick. Maybe you could have been better on defense. Sure.
Yeah, they have been great. I am nitpicking a little bit, but that's all right. AFC South.
Who's the hater now?
Hey, I think they have another level to go to, but that's okay. We'll see them do that hopefully over the next quarter, and maybe they get an A plus next time. But AFC South, not a great division. Titans 0-4. For me, I mean, you lose to the Broncos, you struggle against the Rams, get destroyed by the Colts, and you got destroyed by the Texans. I don't have high expectations for you so far. Cam Ward has had the hell beaten out of him so far. Hasn't looked amazing so far. I'm going to give them a D minus because you're 0-4. The last 2 weeks you've been absolutely destroyed, but you are in rebuild. There's a little bit of grace for you there. I didn't expect much out of you. I expected you to be 0-4. A D minus.
A W for what can you do? This team's bad,
emoji.
man. I mean, like, what can you really do with this team? Like, you can't go too far down on the alphabet, and then they're just not good at anything.
They can't do it.
They're not.
Literally, Cam Ward said, "I'm gonna keep it a buck. We stink," and he's right. Or he said, "We ass." I think it was the exact quote from Cam Ward. And
Yeah.
at least he's honest, right? You got to give him credit for being honest. So maybe he just gets a D instead of a D minus for me, because honesty, that earns you points in my grading system. The Texans have scored 9 points against the Rams, 19 points against the Bucks, 10 points against the Jags, and then against the team that's the worst team in football, they go 26-0. For the Texans, for me, their offenses look terrible. Their offensive line is still bad. And what do they do to improve it? They trade away Cam Robinson to the Browns. That should surely help your offensive line greatly. But their defense is still fairly good. But you're 1-3 in a division that you should easily win. So this first quarter, you get an F. Sorry, you get an F. I don't care. I understand you beat the Titans, and maybe that should earn you points, but the Texans have looked terrible so far. I don't like what I've seen from their offense. So, yeah, F.
Yeah, they get an F from me too. Unacceptable, Houston Texans. I know you're listening. I know you're listening to the Brickyard podcast right now because this is the most accurate sports show online right now. And frankly, you suck right now. You're not very good. Your offensive line isn't very good. You don't have a running game. But first quarter, you get an F. Do better in Q2. Maybe they elevate their grade to a D plus.
Hopefully. Then the Jaguars, what have they done? They beat the Panthers convincingly in week 1. They fall to the Bengals in week 2, back when Joe Burrow was still kicking it, although I think he got hurt in this game. And then the Texans game, they scrap out a win, 17-10. They just beat the 49ers. So far to me, I mean, the Panthers game, you're beating a bad team. The Texans are not getting it going quite yet, but you're 3-1, and I didn't expect you to be 3-1. I'll give the Jags a B plus so far from what I've seen. Travis Etienne looks like he's reached another gear. Their defense is firing. And it looks like Maybe they can win the division. We'll see. So maybe a B for the Jags for me.
Yeah, first, I don't know. I'm gonna give them an F because it's the ugliest 3-1 I've ever seen. I mean, this team does not seem coherent at the moment. Their defense, I mean, it's good. It's played well so far this year. It helped them beat the 49ers. It's brought them to 3-1, and then just their offense is underperforming right now. I feel like this team has another level to go to, but they just have not felt like a coherent team since they beat the San Diego Chargers, and had that epic comeback and then forced Brandon Staley out inevitably the following year. Ever since that game, they just have never looked like a coherent team, just haven't looked like a team that's really connected, and they just seem very frantic. I don't know. There's just something off about this team. So I'm going to give them an F and just hope that they turn it around. And if they keep getting worse, I'll feel justified.
All right. Then the AFC West. The Raiders, they are 1-3. Their only win is against the Patriots in week 1. They then fall to the Chargers 20-9. They lose to the Commanders by multiple scores, and then they just lose to the Bears after a game blocking field goal. For the Raiders, their rating is O for old. Old. You have Pete Carroll as your head coach, who is 74 years old. This man should not be coaching the Raiders. This man should be collecting Social Security at this point, which I know he is at this point. And then you have Chip Kelly, who was in the league, 20 years ago at this point? But he's your offensive coordinator? Come on. What are we doing, Raiders? And then Geno Smith leading the league in interceptions. Ashton Genty averaging 2 yards a carry. O for old. That's what you get. An O.
Yeah, I was going to give them an S for senile, but you already got it with the O for old. So I guess I'll go with that grade. And then, yeah, you have Chip Kelly. I really don't like this strategy of throwing it more than 40 times with Geno Smith. Just seems like a bad idea. Just seems like something you shouldn't be doing, especially when you took a running back in the first round and it took you until week 4 to figure out that if you have a guy that can make people miss in space, maybe you should actually get him in space. I mean, my God, what a concept for this team. So you get S for senile.
All right. And then the Broncos beat the Titans. They beat the Bengals this past week. Had a close game against the Colts that came down to a field goal. And then the Chargers took care of business against them. So far for the Broncos, not what I was expecting them to be. Right now, they get an M for mid. Bo Nix, I think, is mid. Their running game, I think, is mid so far. Receiver core is mid so far, although Cortland Sutton is underrated. And then, yeah, and their defense hasn't been excellent so far. So far, they're 2-2, almost perfectly balanced with points against and points for. Mid is what they get.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a C plus. Whenever I think of the Broncos, I think of Marvin Mims. I don't know if you think of Marvin Mims a lot when you think of the Broncos, but for me, that's a problem. I know it's not the greatest logic in the world, but for some people, it'll make sense. Let me know if you agree in the comments.
Marvin Mims, I think about him more than I'd like to admit. So M is an appropriate grade. And then the Chiefs. So far, they lose to the Chargers in Brazil. They fall to the Eagles. They beat the Giants, but it's not pretty. And then they just crush the Ravens. I'm going to give them an F for foolish because I'm foolish for putting them on the worst top 5. They are the Chiefs. They are the dynasty. Maybe they should get a D for dynasty. And I just shouldn't bet against them. It's just not a good bet. It's a bad take. I'm sorry. Patrick Mahomes is 30 and he's won more Super Bowls than pretty much every other player not named Tom Brady. So, yeah, I think we
Yeah.
should trust the Chiefs.
Yeah, the guy who grew up watching every Patriots game really learned his lesson.
Clearly. Yeah.
I will give them an F as well for fear. The rest of the league should be afraid at this point. You asked me who I am. I'm not necessarily there when you can see me, but when you put on the bat signal, the Chiefs will be there and they'll respond.
All right. And then the Chargers. Chargers, the first 3 weeks, I would have given them an A because I thought they looked great. Beat the Chiefs, took care of the Raiders, took care of the Broncos. They fall to Jackson Dart and lose their offensive line. So I'm going to give them an I for injuries at this point. Their entire offensive line is hurt now. Amarian Hampton, I hope he's good. I hope he continues to be good. Chargers should still be in playoff contention at this point, but I fear that their injuries are going to start stacking up. And the Chargers, who have this window of opportunity, the Chiefs started off struggling to start the season, but are they going to be able to capitalize on it? We'll have to see in quarter two.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a D for deceased. I think that's what YouTube wants us to say instead of dead. Too late now, anyways. But you lose your starting right tackle and left tackle. It's just over for you, especially when you don't really have the receiving core to compensate for it. You need your offensive line, running back game, tight ends, and defense to all be in a row, especially for the Chargers. But the Chargers just have bad luck. So I'm gonna give them a D. I think their season is over at this point, and it's unfortunate.
All right. So then we move to the NFC. Which divisions shall we start with?
Let's start with the North again.
All right. So the North, we start with the Chicago Bears. We had a loss against the Vikings where they had control the entire game. They blew it. The Lions game, they get eviscerated. And then they beat the Cowboys very convincingly. And then the Raiders game, I don't know what to make of them at this point. So for them, they don't get a grade. They just get an emoji and it's a question mark. I don't know what this Bears team is. The first 2 weeks, I was like, okay, same old Bears. Then they win the last 2 weeks. 1 week they convince me, and the last week they don't convince me. I don't know what this team is, and I don't know what they're going to be moving forward. I don't know if they're going to go 8-8. I don't know if they're going to be in the playoffs. I have no idea. This Chicago Bears team, I cannot put my finger on. If I had to guess, they're going to be 8-1 and miss the playoffs. But I don't know I don't know what I'm going to get each and every week. They face the Commanders next week. I don't know what's going to happen. I truly don't. They actually have a bye week next week, but yeah, I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, and for me, I'm gonna give them a C. That just feels right for the Chicago Bears at this point. And for me, the way I can sum up the season so far for them is it's like watching a train wreck. And sometimes you have a page like Trains Hitting Things where it's just an Amtrak train going through and hitting a car in an intersection. And then you're watching a train wreck. It's entertaining, and then suddenly the Trains Hitting Things Instagram page turns into just a porn bot page, and you're confused why that happens. And so far, that's kind of how I'm feeling with the Chicago Bears, where sometimes it's cool, it's a train hitting things, you get to see something fall apart, and now them getting 2 wins. And sometimes it just turns into something where it really shouldn't be that, and it never should have been to start with.
Yes, poetry from Marcus, as always. And then we go to the Vikings. We got the Bears game where we had JJ McCarthy struggle in the first half. They get the win, come back. Falcons game, he's lost. They can't win. Bengals game, they annihilate them with Carson Wentz. And then the Steelers game in Dublin, they almost pull out the comeback, but they fall short. But the Vikings, 2-2 to start. JJ McCarthy, I have not been impressed with. I think they're better with Carson Wentz. But for them, I think they deserve a C plus for where they are. Their defense has been really good for them. Their quarterback situation is still a question mark for me. So C plus, I think, is fair.
Yeah, I'll go with a C plus plus. I think they are like between a C and a B, but I think a C plus for some reason is too low. So I'll give them an extra plus there. I've been impressed because you railroaded the Cincinnati Bengals, which actually isn't too hard because they went and lost to Denver 28-3, but you go out there, drop over 40 points, and then you win a tough game in week 1 versus a division rival and the Chicago Bears. And then, you lose a competitive game to the Falcons where JJ McCarthy ends up going down, and then you have a tough, hard-fought game overseas with the Steelers. Some of those games can be fluky. So overall, I have been impressed with what I've seen from Kevin O'Connell, kind of rebranding this team each year, and he's kind of just been the quarterback whisperer. He's kind of been like Dr. Phil for quarterbacks, and he's kind of helping people turn around their situation, whether it's that or it's Daniel Jones this year, who spent some time with him.
Yeah, and Carson Wentz has looked good so far. I mean, he's 4 touchdowns, 2 picks, QBR in the 90s again, which we haven't seen that in a long time. We haven't seen that since his Philly era. So maybe he unlocks Carson Wentz again. So I like what I've seen there. Packers 2-1-1. They had a good win against the Lions, a good win against the Commanders, a weird loss against the Browns that's being investigated by the government for potentially being thrown, and then a tie.
Is it really?
I've heard. That's what I've heard. Because they're fearing that this might have been fixed, but that's a whole nother story. And then a 40-40 tie. Jordan Love has played amazing. Josh Jacobs played amazing. Their defense has played great. This tie really pisses me off, to be honest. But I still think they're Super Bowl contenders. Outside of the Browns game, I don't think there's anything I can really nitpick for them. So I still am going to put them in the A's. But with that tie, I'm going to have to give them an A-, I think.
I'm going to give them a P because it applies to P for pretentious, P for play it safe at the end of it. I feel like you just wasted too much clock at the end of the game versus the Cowboys, where you actually did have a chance to go down and get a touchdown, but you would rather just tie instead of actually taking a chance to just go out there, win, set your stones on the table like Dan Campbell would do, carrying them around in the wheelbarrow the very next day around town for everyone to see, where it felt like you kind of just went out with a whimper, with a tie. Matt LaFleur's eyebrows still look good. And now you fucked the NFC North division. Just pisses me off.
They ruined it for me. And then the Lions. My rating for them is R for roar. Everyone said that because they lost Ben Johnson and because they lost Aaron Glenn, that they're completely in shambles because apparently that's all they had. No Dan Campbell, no Amon-Ra, no David Montgomery, no Jahmyr Gibbs, no Jared Goff, no Sam Laporta, no Brock Wright. Must I go on? And yet here they are at the top of their division. They're 3-1 with the highest point differential in all of the NFC so far. And outside of their one loss against the Packers, who is also a contender, that's it. Other than that, they blew out the Bears. They took care of business against the Ravens, and they just torched the Browns. And then they face the Bengals next week, which should be yet another blowout. So, roar. Restore the roar.
Yeah, I like it. I'll go with R for roar as well. Rated roar. Parental guidance advised.
All right. Then we go to the South. The Saints. I'm going to give them an S for sympathy. You are the Saints. You're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be good. Spencer Rattler has done as much as he could, but you are the Saints. We expected you to go 0-17. We had you going 1-16, and that might still be true, but you're the Saints. What do we expect from you? Am I supposed to be mean to you? Am I supposed to say you're supposed to be terrible? You've played competitively. You almost beat the Cardinals, so S for sympathy.
I sympathize with the Saints as well. I mean, it's a tough situation, and when I've seen them play, it's enjoyable. And I haven't, I haven't enjoyed watching them lose, and I felt like I was rooting for them to win when they played the Bills. The fact that they made it a close, tough, competitive game. So I also have sympathy for them. They're just not very good. They're not the tallest. They're not the strongest. And, maybe it's because they're still in cap hell and they can't figure it out after Drew Brees and Sean Payton. But I truly do feel bad for this team and root for them when they do play.
I do too. But, the next team, the Carolina Panthers, they actually are going to get an A, but not for amazing. They're going to get an A for anomaly because the 3 losses, they have outgained their opponents pretty considerably too, might I say. The Jags, the Cardinals game, they out-yarded the Cardinals. They out-yarded the Patriots in a blowout. Yet, the one game that they have won was a shutout win, 30-0. And you guessed it, that game, they did not out-yard the Falcons, which to me, I think is insane how that even is possible in a 30-point blowout. So the Panthers are going to get an A for anomaly because they are 1-3 and they are not a good football team. However, how are you out-yarding them and losing? And how are you not out-yarding them and winning? That part to me just doesn't click to me. So this might be the best, worst 5-12 team we ever see.
Yeah, it's just a really weird team, right? You have that stunning game versus the Falcons, and it could just be chalked up to it's a divisional game and weirder things happen. But this team is just kind of, I don't know. Bryce Young just might not be the guy for this team. But yeah, I think this team is also an anomaly as well. This is a just a very strange team. I'm not sure how it got to this point where we had expectations. It seemed like they reset those expectations and then they blew out the Falcons. Everyone was confused because the Falcons outgained them on everything. Then you get blown out by the Patriots, and you try and put it together like what you think about it, and you just like they just are.
And you know what's funny? The next team, the Falcons, they also are an anomaly. Week 1, they lose to the Bucks. Week 2, they beat the Vikings convincingly. Week 3, they get blown out by the Panthers, even though they outgained them. Week 4, they beat the Commanders. So I guess we know what's going to happen next week or the next time they play against the Bills. For me, they get a C, but not for can't complain. They get a C for coin toss because it seems to me you flip a coin and that whatever it lands on is how they're going to be. For me, every other week for them, they seem to win games. So I think moving forward, every game moving forward, if they won the previous week, they're going to lose this week. And if they lost the previous week, they're going to win.
Yeah, I'll give them an H for hometown Warriors. I think this is just a team that's going to have a better offense at home. They played really well at home versus the Washington Commanders, especially without Jaden Daniels, dropping 34 points, having your big four on offense all get a touchdown here. But I just think that this is a team that's really good at home and just kind of mid on the road. And that's really all there is to them.
Yeah, I would agree there. And then the Bucks. How about a fourth quarter comeback for them against the Falcons, a fourth quarter comeback for them against the Texans, a fourth quarter comeback against the Jets, and then not quite getting it done against the Eagles. For them, they get the comeback kids, potentially MVP Baker Mayfield, which I heard somebody predicted on this show. Who knows? But the Bucks, I would say, overcoming the obstacles. I think grade wise, I'm going to have to say I'm giving K for killers. They're killers. And C for clutch.
Yeah, no, this is a clutch team. They're definitely good. I'll give this team a solid B plus. You went out there, had 3 comebacks. I don't like that you let the Jets back in the game, though. I think you can definitely tighten some things up there. Maybe it had to do with the spread. And then also you have them have another close game against a bad team in week 2 where the Texans really didn't have a great offense. And then once you go up against the Philadelphia Eagles, you kind of get knocked around. So I'll give you a B plus. You should be the favorite for your division, but definitely some area you can still improve.
For sure. And then let's get the NFC West out of the way. Starting with the Cardinals, what other grade can I give them besides P for pathetic? Because you played your 2 wins are against the Saints and Panthers, in which you nearly lost to both of them in the last seconds. The 49ers game, you knew damn well what was going to happen next. You knew that they were going to lose to them. And then the Seahawks, again, you know damn well what they're going to do next. And then when they face the Titans later next week, you know damn well it's going to be way closer than it should. So they're pathetic. Kyler Murray's pathetic. Their coach is pathetic. Their franchise is pathetic. And if they were to move out of Arizona, I think Arizona fans would probably cheer.
Yeah, I'll give them a G for gouge my eye out. Hot take, but watching the Cardinals is like trying to get into Mad Men. It just doesn't work, and it's kind of boring, to be honest. Especially like their style of football. But I know a lot of people like they'll talk up Mad Men like this is a really good show. It's like a pristine show in some circles, but I don't know. Like to me, it's just kind of boring. There's not a lot going on there, even though some people like it and think there's potential there. But like, I don't know. Like for me, watching the Cardinals, it's just kind of like watching Mad Men. It's not enjoyable.
Yeah. And then the Rams, I'm giving them an A. They beat the Texans 14-9. They beat the Titans convincingly. Eagles game, they fall short, but there was moments there they could have probably capitalized on. They beat the Colts. I'm giving them an A for ascending. I think by the end, when we preview The next quarter, I think the Rams are going to be in the driver's seat for that division. Puka Nacua has been arguably the best receiver in the league this year. So for me, they get an A for ascending.
Yeah, A for ascending is good. I'll give this team a solid A minus. Seemed like you survived September, but overall, still have some areas you can get better. I'd prefer a little bit more production from the offense, a little bit more explosivity. But Jared Versailles has shown that rookie year is not going to be a fluke here, so I'm excited to see what the Rams do heading into Q2, and we're going to be in October on Sunday. How exciting is that?
Very exciting. October football, nothing better. The Seahawks, they fell to the Niners. They then beat the Steelers convincingly, beat the Saints convincingly, and honestly beat the Cardinals convincingly. Over these last 3 weeks, they've won 3 straight games. They face the Bucks next week. But for the Seahawks, my expectations for them were very low. I expected them to be 7-10. Are they September Warriors? They should show that for me. I think their schedule does get a little bit tougher coming up. But so far, I give them a B. I've been impressed with what I've seen. Doesn't look like the Sam Darnold last year was a fluke. It looks like he is just a solid franchise quarterback for somebody. So I give him a B. I've been impressed. Their defense has played fairly well. So I like what I've saw.
I mean, how can you go into the season with the expectations you had for the Seattle Seahawks and not give them an A plus? Am I right? You go out there versus the Steelers, which is a team that has looked like a solid, competent NFL team so far to this point. Their defense playing pretty well the past 2 weeks, and then the Seahawks go into Pittsburgh, end up blowing them out. You end up having another blowout where you just wall to wall the New Orleans Saints, and you beat them even worse than the Buffalo Bills did. Even Josh Allen was like, whoa, I think that's a little bit much, don't we? And then they made up for it on Thursday Night Football by letting the Arizona Cardinals close the spread. But overall, I think for Seattle, for what I expected them, A plus. Good job, guys. Great quarter.
Yeah, they have played great so far. I can agree with that. I was harsh entering the season, but honestly, between Kenneth Walker and Sam Darnold and JSN, I've really liked their offense so far. And then on the other side, their defense with Tariq Woolen and Devon Witherspoon, I've been really impressed with them so far. And then the Niners, they squeaked out a win against the Seahawks. They beat the Saints. They beat the Cardinals in a close game, and then they fall to the Jags. They have a lot of injuries, so I'm giving them an O for ouch because between Brock Purdy, between George Kittle, between Nick Bosa, Juwan Jennings is hurt. I mean, I'm looking at their injury list, and it's like a scripture from the King's Palace of the 1500s. It just never ends. Brandon Ayuk is out. He's not close to returning. It's like, how is this team winning football games right now? And then the next 3 weeks they face the Rams, Bucks, and Falcons, and then the Texans. So I'd like to think that sooner or later the Niners are going to stop winning games because, I mean, how long can this facade go on for?
Yeah, I'm gonna give them a B for blue tent.
Blue medical tent. Yeah, that's fair. Their point differential through the first 4 games is +5. They've barely squeaked out wins. So I just don't know how much longer this can go on for. I think the Rams are the best team in that division. Seahawks are a close second, but the 49ers lead the division currently based on their conference
Yeah.
record. So we'll see if that stands.
New drinking game. Take a shot anytime the commentator says the San Francisco 49ers medical staff is taking a player to the blue medical tent. I wonder what could be going on.
I'm just curious, like, is the Super Bowl hangover contagious? Like, did the 49ers catch the Eagles Super Bowl hangover? Like, because I just don't know how you can get banged up this quickly. Already into the season, you've already lost your probably 5 best players you have.
I
I
mean,
just
their
don't know how you
team
do
is
it.
old and they've already gone on so many runs together that this core, it's just never going to get it done.
Yeah, that is true. And then the Giants. How about the Giants? They finally start Jackson Dart this upcoming week. And then, other than that, we had a horrible game against the Commanders. Russell Wilson not looking the part. Then they had a masterclass with the Cowboys where Russell Wilson had the best game of his career. Then he gets crushed by the Chiefs. Then they start Jackson Dart. White boy magic begins. Him and Cam Scadaboo. Magic is there in New York. So for me, they get a W for white boy energy. You have black Christian McCaffrey, Cam Scatterbo, legend of Arizona State. Jackson Dart, everyone was questioning maybe he shouldn't have been taken in the first round. I liked what I saw on Sunday against the Chargers. I think he'll be good. Then Abdul Carter starting to come into his own. So I don't expect much from this team. And this W might just be the only W they get all season. But I like they're in the right direction, at least. They're trending upward, I'd say.
Yeah, I'll give him an eye for it could be worse. I mean, Malik Neighbors goes down, but you had a game versus the Dallas Cowboys where Russell Wilson had his greatest game ever, and then you decide to bench him after a tough game versus the Chiefs, who are the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know why a tough game versus the Chiefs would necessarily get a quarterback bench. Just seemed like they were looking for any excuse to bench Russ, which then begs the question, why would you bring Russ in this year? So overall, I think I'll just give them a C for I'm kind of confused on what's going on in New York at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Brian Daboll, if he had any hair, it's gone. And I just don't know. Like, now you don't have Malik Neighbors. You don't really have any receivers outside of him. And now you're having a rookie quarterback thrown to the Wolves at this point. So it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out for them, honest to God. Then the Cowboys. We got a loss against the Eagles in week 1. Had a masterclass game against the Giants, 40-37. Gets crushed by the Bears, and then a tie with the Packers. So they are now 1-2-1. I don't know what to think of this team. Their defense is terrible, but yet Dak Prescott has played well. They don't have CeeDee Lamb, but yet George Pickens is playing well. So they get one of these. They get a little shrug emoji, I would say, because I think they still can be competitive, but again, their defense is terrible. You have injuries with CeeDee Lamb that cost you a lot. You traded Mike Parsons to start the season, which is not a good way to start. So they get a shrug. They don't even get a letter grade.
Yeah, I give them a C for CTE. This team just has CTE vibes whenever they go out there and play. I mean, you're watching Javonte Williams, Dak Prescott, and George Pickens go out there and cook. If that's not CTE vibes, I don't know what is. And then you're watching old Trayvon Diggs, where he's one of the oldest 20-year-olds in the league at this point. Deron Bland try and come back. They have an injured defense. They look confused. They look like they have CTE and don't know what's going on. Jerry Jones acts like and talks like he has CTE, but that's just because he's old at this point. Especially with that Green Bay Packers trade with Micah Parsons. So I think a C for CTE is a good way to sum up the Cowboys.
All right. And then the Commanders get to win against the Giants, loses to the Packers, beats the Raiders, then falls to the Falcons last week. We've had Jaden Daniels banged up for the last 2 weeks. For me, I do think that there's a little bit of a sophomore slump with them. They were ascending last year. They traded for Debo. Debo's been good, but they've also had injuries to Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin. So I feel like this is an incomplete team. So can I really assess them currently? I don't know. I'm going to give them an I for incomplete.
Yeah, I'm going to give them an F. I should have given them an I because incomplete is good. But I also think flipping that I that this team just feels irrelevant this year. You're a team that went and got to the NFC Championship this year and have not looked like that NFC Championship team unless it was against the Raiders this year. But who hasn't against the Raiders? The Bears look like a playoff team. They look clutch versus the Raiders. So that's really not saying much. And then you go get blown out in Atlanta by Atlanta, who had just lost to the Carolina Panthers, where they didn't score at all. And the Panthers shut them out, even though they outgained them. So overall, yeah, they just feel irrelevant this year when they should be ascending. They should be getting better. And is that on Dan Quinn? Is that on Cliff Kingsbury? Just on the injuries? We'll see. But for right now, this team gets an F from me.
All right. And then the Eagles. I mean, it's going to be hard for me not to give them an A+, especially because of the number one team according to the Brickyard. Cowboys win, Chiefs win, Rams win, Bucks win. These are all teams that, if they're not in playoff contention, they're either Super Bowl favorites or they're right in the bubble for the pillars of greatness in that particular conference. A+ all around. Super Bowl hangover, where? I don't know. even with Saquon struggling, even with AJ Brown not being utilized to his full capabilities. I mean, I can't anything that I'm going to complain about. I'm picking, I'm splitting hairs here, so they get an A plus.
Yeah, they get an A+ for me. I can't put them at the number one team according to the Brickyard and not give them an A+, and it's poetry in motion, finishing with the Super Bowl champion and then coming full circle, giving them an A+ to finish out a positive quarterly review for the NFL.
Thumbs up around for everybody. Everyone gets a gold star. But quarter one is over. We are now entering October. Leaves are changing colors in certain places. We have September Warriors getting off of their horses. Will they continue to glide their way through October? We don't know. But it all starts on Thursday night. We have a classic matchup of the 49ers and the Rams. Rams are favored at 6.5 in SoFi. Matt Stafford coming off of a great game. Early thoughts for me, I take the Rams. I think they should cover the spread. I think we start to see the Niners injuries start to catch up to them, but what is your thoughts with the Niners and Rams?
Yeah, I think the Rams as well. 49ers are just a little bit too injured at this point. You have Brock Purdy coming back, and he's kind of had some fumble issues. He looked like he was kind of far behind, and he's kind of trying to get caught back up to speed coming off an injury. Now he has a short turnaround again. Rams just went out there and then shut everyone in the NFL up about the Indianapolis Colts, finally handed them a loss. So I think they'll come into this game and then get another win. I still don't think they're over that loss to Philly.
Let's not forget Sean McVay is 10-5 against Kyle Shanahan in the regular season as well. Has owned them historically. And then, oh God, the spread should be so much higher. Lions and Bengals, the battle of the kitty cats. Lions are favored at 10.5 in Cincinnati. The spread should be 30 as far as I'm concerned. Lions over under a 49.5. I would agree the Lions should score 50 in this game. I'll take the Lions by a mile, and I think they cover the spread.
Yeah, I take the Lions by a mile as well. What reason do I have to believe the Bengals are suddenly going to come out here for pride and turn it around? I think at this point, Joe Burrow's, it's another season loss for him. We probably won't see him after this year, so he doesn't come back and get hurt because they're not going to be able to compete for the playoffs. And then the Lions have just been handling business outside of week one. Like they played around with the Browns a little bit, but you lost to the Broncos 28-3. Yikes. What are the Lions going to do to you? They're definitely going to drop at least 35.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. This should be an absolute bloodbath. This is going to be a tough watch, but I digress. We go into another London game, what nobody asked for. Vikings and Browns in London. Vikings are favored at 3.5. Will Joe Flacco be starting? Will he not? Nonetheless, Carson Wentz with Jay Jeff and Jordan Addison. I don't know if I'd bet on this game, but I'll take the Vikings in back-to-back overseas games. I'll take them to win this game outright against the Browns.
Yeah, I like the Vikings in this one because the Browns suck. Okay, that was hard to say, but I picked the Vikings in this one. It's not really a competition. Just lost to the Steelers last week. I don't see them dropping two in a row. Browns are terrible, and then you've been in Dublin. You're just hopping down to England now. Should be an unfair advantage with the time zone. Then you're going into a bye, so I think they pick up a win versus Cleveland.
All right. And then I'm actually going to jump to Sunday Night Football because this is slated and pinned up ahead of me. Bills and Patriots. Bills are favored at 7.5. And I actually think in this game, I do think the Bills are going to get the win. However, with that 7.5 spread, I think this is going to be closer than we think. I will take the Patriots to cover, but Bills take care of business. This game to me feels more like a 24-20 type game, closer than we think, especially with how the Bills have been playing with their food a little bit with these lesser opponents. Patriots are a worthy opponent. We see Stephon Diggs start to get utilized. I'll take the Patriots to cover, but Bills win.
Yeah, there's been some times I haven't trusted my gut instinct this season, and I have been wrong because of that. because I tried to logic my way out of it because sometimes it's hard to explain. But I think the Patriots will win this game. I just have a feeling they're going to come out on top in this one versus the Buffalo Bills. I mean, Buffalo has played well, but against Miami, you kind of saw them lag a little bit. They were lagging a little bit versus the Saints. So on Sunday Night Football, this could be a real moment where the Patriots come out and wow people. You have Stephon Diggs going up against, dare I say, a weak secondary where you see some opportunity against the Buffalo Bills, and he could potentially come back, get a little bit of revenge versus Buffalo. You have Drake May, who's an ascending quarterback, can go toe to toe with Josh Allen, let alone Mike Vrabel as the head coach there with this Patriots team, who's coming off of a 42-point win, feeling good about themselves. I think Mike Vrabel's going to have his guys ready to play, and I think they're going to win this game in Buffalo on Sunday Night Football. And this is going to be where everyone starts to take the Patriots seriously and look at them like, wow, you just came out here on national television and did that. And you're going to hear Chris Collinsworth talk about Drake Mango. Now, here's a guy that I have insert stat on Pro Football Focus to plug his company.
Yeah, honestly, I can see it. The Patriots, they've struggled against the Bills in the post Tom Brady, but with their defense playing better, with Stephon Diggs' revenge, he hated Buffalo. So I don't hate that take, to be honest, but I'll at least take the Patriots to cover. Patriots upset. For the NFL, I think that'd be a good arc. But then we get a game that no one asked for. How about Saints and Giants? Jackson Dart. We get a Saints favorite at 1.5 at home, which is crazy. Jackson Dart following a win against the Chargers. I am personally bought into this new iteration of the Giants. You remember when they got rid of Daniel Jones and they started Tommy DeVito, and it was about the energy, beating teams with friendship. That is what I think the Giants are in for. And this is ultimately, we previewed this game as a potential #1 overall pick spoiler. But I think, honestly, like Jackson Dart, he impressed me in the Chargers game. You have Cam Scadaboo, who should go for, 400 yards in this game. So I will take the Giants to win this game.
Yeah, I'll take the Giants as well. I get Vegas gives the other opponent 3 points, and it's hard to give the Giants any points without Malik Neighbors, but the Giants' defense is still pretty good at this point. I think they'll be able to go out there and beat the Panthers, so I'll take the Giants as well. I don't think that the Giants are that bad, and the Saints, they got beaten wall to wall versus the Seattle Seahawks, and I'm sorry to say this, but the Bills were just bored last week. That's all that was.
Yeah, they were bored, and Giants will not be. They got Cam Scadaboo, who runs into telephone poles for preparation. So this is a different beast we're taking on. So on to another game. How about Indiana Jones taking on none other than Pete Carroll and the Raiders? Colts are favored at 6.5. They lost their undefeated streak last week against the Rams. Do they come back with a vengeance? I think so. The Colts, I don't know if I can buy into them long term, but so far, Daniel Jones has played fairly mistake-free football. Jonathan Taylor has run over everybody, and Tyler Warren looks to be a hit. So give me the Colts. 6.5 is a tough spread. I'll take the Raiders to cover, but I'll take the Colts to win.
Yeah, no, this is where it all falls apart because this is the perfect stormer. Wow, look at the Colts. Look at how they perform versus the Rams. And then suddenly it'll be like, well, they lost to the Raiders. That's a fluke, right? Even though the Raiders are bad. This is the perfect storm for a Raiders upset here where no one expects anything from the Raiders. The Raiders have been shamed. The Raiders are put now at the bottom of a lot of people's thoughts on the hierarchy of the NFL right now. And the Indianapolis Colts are still teetering right now. And this is a teetering moment. And what happens when Daniel Jones is your quarterback? You teeter. So for that reason, I'm taking the upset. I'm taking the Raiders in this game. Seeing a big game from Ashton Genty this week. Going to be a great matchup versus the Colts.
All right. I like it. Upset alert for the Raiders. And honestly, I can see that arc for us. And then another football game that will be played on football turf. Jets and Cowboys. Cowboys are favored at 2.5. And, you know, if we're talking about a perfect storm, right? Cowboys are coming off a tie, which in their mind is a win for them. The Jets are 0-4. And do I think the Jets are 0-5 bad? Like sometimes when you see a record for a team, does it display how bad they really are? And the Jets, I don't ever want to pick the Jets, but in this game, I just have a hunch. And sometimes when I have a hunch, I gamble it and I make money when I do so. So for the Jets, I'm going to take them to beat the Cowboys. It's in East Rutherford, New Jersey. It's on their home turf. They're coming off of what's their Super Bowl. I'll take the Jets. I think we're going to see a Jets upset in this game.
Yeah, and I'm having a really hard time picking a Jets in this game, but I know I should. I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one because Dak and George Pickens has been a scary connection. I mean, George Pickens was dealing with Mason Rudolph, old Ben Roethlisberger, Russell Wilson. I mean, he got the Ben Roethlisberger that couldn't throw it past 25 yards at the end of the season. And then from there after, he got Kenny Pickett, of all people, who has been
Disgraceful.
shunned from the NFL. Then he got Russell Wilson. He's had Mason Rudolph, and he's looked his best with Mason Rudolph, to be honest. And then he has Dak now, who say what you will about Dak Prescott, and I have criticisms of him as well, but he's still a good NFL quarterback, and he could get CeeDee Lamb the ball. And now that George Pickens has the opportunity to eat, I'm like pretty confident in the Dallas Cowboys offense that it's just going to keep up. And I'm excited to see CeeDee Lamb come back and play with George Pickens when they're both fully up to speed.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. So it'll be interesting to see. I just think the Jets, like 0-5, are they that bad? Are they really 0-5 bad? And the answer is probably yes, but I don't know. A hunch is telling me that maybe they're 1-4. But I'll tell you about a team that's 5-0, the Eagles. They face the Broncos, and I just think for right now, like the Eagles, they're favored at 3.5 in Lincoln Financial, and they just seem like a machine that can't be stopped. Broncos, yes, they had a great win against the Bengals, but Eagles, between their defense, between everything that they have going for them on offense, I'm taking the Eagles. Going with the safe bet.
Yeah, I'll take the Eagles here as well. I just can't see Bo Nix going into that environment and particularly thriving here. So I think this is going to be a tough one, but the Eagles are on a roll right now. Looks like their defense is clicking. And then what's scary is Saquon Barkley has yet to have a breakout game yet. So give me the Eagles in this one as well.
All right. And then this is what we would call the Tylenol ball, or we can call it the turd ball, whatever you prefer. Timely sake, I like to call it the Tylenol bowl, but Dolphins, Panthers. Thank God this isn't a primetime game, but Dolphins, Panthers, Miami's favorite at 1.5. Somebody has to win this game. We can't call two ties in back-to-back weeks, or maybe we can, but this game, I'm actually going to take the Panthers in this game. They've outgained everybody. The Dolphins, maybe they outgained the Panthers, but somehow the Panthers come out with a win. Bryce Young, I think, has actually looked marginally better than Tua. So without Tyreek Hill for the rest of the season, Jalen Waddle, I don't know where he is, where he's been, but I think the Panthers, again, having a hunch at home, maybe they get the win.
Yeah, give me the Panthers too. I'm not picking Miami. I'm not staking my honor on the Miami Dolphins. If they lose, that's fine. I can handle it. I feel like people will understand that, but I can't in good conscience pick the Miami Dolphins to win a game. I won't do it.
And honestly, they don't deserve to. They deserve to be 1-15 and 1-16, as we said. And now without Tyreek Hill, like this team is in complete shambles. Let's not forget how bad they were these last 3 weeks prior to beating the Jets. Like it's the Jets. Like the Jets just lose. That's just what they do. And the Panthers, I think they can take advantage. And then Texans, Ravens. This could be potentially without Lamar Jackson, potentially. Texans starting to get back into winning ways, move the football fairly well against the Titans. And I think this is a perfect game for the Texans to get back into that division, win this game, go to 2-3, and honestly sink the Ravens. If Lamar Jackson isn't playing, and even if he is playing, the way their defense has been playing these last 4 weeks, you can expect the Texans to drop at least 30 in this game. And if Lamar's not playing in this game, like, what are they going to do? If the Texans can stop the run against Derrick Henry, the Ravens are not going to be able to score effectively. So over-under in this game is 39.5, by the way. I'll take the Texans in this game. I'm seeing like a 14-13 type game.
Yeah, 14-13. And the Texans still did play well versus the Bucks, where they put up close to 20 points. Their defense did suffocate the Tampa Bay Buccaneers sufficiently well, not enough to win the game, but like good enough where if the offense was competent, they could have won that game. So give me the Texans in this one as well, especially with questions around Lamar Jackson's health, how badly the Kansas City Chiefs beat them, especially with their offense looking bad. I mean, at this point, are the Baltimore Ravens just going to be the team like, hey, is your offense struggling? Do you need help getting going when you're on offense on Sundays? Well, if you play us, you're guaranteed to up your average score by 20 points in the afternoon.
Their defense is pathetic. I see that 1,000%.
Call
And
Ruffy.
and then speaking of Rafi, good transition to the Cardinals game. Cardinals Titans. And I rated them P for pathetic in their ratings here. They faced the Titans, who did not look good against the Texans at all. Cam Ward has been struggling. But let's not forget, their 2 wins are against 2 teams that we don't deem very highly, the Panthers and the Saints. And the Titans, 0-4. They don't have a lot of things going for them. They have the spread at 7.5 for the Cardinals. I'm definitely taking the Titans to cover. Whether they win or not remains to be seen. I don't know if I could pick the Titans to win a game, but certainly could pick them to cover the spread. It's the Cardinals. The Cardinals don't play bad teams well. If they win this game, it's not going to be impressive. We're looking at like 17-14 potentially, but easily in this game, I'll take the Titans to cover the spread.
Yeah, I mean, if the Cardinals lose this game, that's game over for Josh Gannon and Kyler Murray. That whole era is done, and this team
It
gets
has to
blown
be.
up.
It
I
has to
mean,
be.
this is a game you look at if you're a GM, you're owner of this team, president, weird, dark Illuminati figure that goes to Bohemian Grove and works for the Cardinals. You say, this team is over. It's done. We lost to the Tennessee Titans, who did not score against the Houston Texans, and they let the Texans get over 20 points against them. So if you lose to the Titans at this point this season, I feel like it's a disaster because the Titans have been one of those teams where the Jets, it's kind of just funny when they're bad. We're accustomed to it. The Panthers, it's just kind of funny as well. The Saints have been fun, enjoyable. They've been a fun bad team, but the Titans are just, you feel bad for them watching them
Yeah.
play.
I feel bad for Cam Ward, man. I mean, the fact that his receivers can't catch the football, you have a bunch of drop. I think he has the most drops of any team in the league so far. Their defense isn't very good. Their offensive line is bad. Their running game is bad. And Cam Ward, we don't know. Cam Ward could very well be bad. He hasn't had a lot of help either. So that's just a team you feel bad for. That's a team that
Yeah.
they have a
It's like
lot of work
watching
to
a
be done.
fight. It's like watching a fight and one of the guys is clearly just getting beat up and like picked apart. And then the other guy's just toying with him. It's like, you're just like, all right, we can just stop the fight now, right? He's getting leg kicked. The other guy's just doing whatever he wants with him the whole fight. And he's just helpless.
Yeah, it's not a great sight. Then we got Seahawks and Bucks. Bucks are coming off of a loss to the Eagles. Seahawks coming off a win against the Cardinals. Seahawks are actually favored at 3.5 at home. I gladly take the Bucks. I think this is going to be one of the best games in the 4 o'clock slates, but I don't see the Bucks losing back-to-back games. They had a couple of missed opportunities in the Eagles game. They've played close in pretty much every game so far, but I still think the Bucks are the better team so far. So I'll take the Bucks to cover Baker Mayfield. Maybe there's a fourth quarter drive in them.
Yeah, I'll take the Bucks to win this game as well. I think they bounce back after losing against Philadelphia, and they had some opportunities to win that game, some areas they can improve. So I think they come back and win this one.
All right. And then we got Chargers Commanders in SoFi, favored at 2.5. I guess it seems like Jaden Daniels is still going to be out. Chargers, how will they adapt with their offensive line issues? I'll still take the Chargers. I still think they're the better team. If the Commanders can have full strength, maybe this is a different story. But for now, I'll take the Chargers.
Yeah, it's just the early candidate for worst game of the week at this point. Like Commanders with no Marcus Mariota, Chargers with no offensive line at this point. I think the Chargers should win because they'll be able to do enough on offense, but overall, I feel like this one will be rough.
Yeah, I would agree. And then Monday Night Football. We got Chiefs and Jags. Chiefs are favored at 3.5. Jags are a weird 3-1 team. Chiefs, after what I saw with the Ravens, I'm not going to bet against them again. So obviously we'll pick the Chiefs in this game, but I don't think this game is going to be close. Their spread's 3.5. That should be an easy spread, in my opinion.
You know, primetime Trevor versus primetime Mahomes. One of them's a negative, one of them is a positive. Like, I just don't like the Jaguars, especially on primetime. I feel like they've underperformed anytime they've been put in the spotlight here. Kansas City seems like they're starting to turn it up here. So I have the Chiefs as well to round out our picks for week 4 so far.
So we have picked all of the games for week 5. You have been previewed. Bye weeks for Falcons, Bears, Packers, and Steelers. They should have a nice, easy rest week for them. Caleb Williams can get a manicure as well. Jordan Love can hopefully find some love on his bye week. All can hope.
They can hopefully find some love on his bye week. And we went ahead and reacted to every single game of week 4. We gave you our top 5 and our worst top 5. We have done a quarterly review for every single team. We previewed week 5, and to top it off, we get Brick reacting to something and what we've been watching this week at 2.5 hours strong here so far. So this week, I brought you the top 5 best places to be in the United States if an alien invasion happens, according to ChatGPT.
Okay. All right.
I
I'm
was
here for that.
I was wearing the UFO. I was feeling it, and it was on the mind today. So, just diving right into it. At number 5, we have the Rocky Mountains, Montana and Idaho specifically. Why? Remote high ground, natural barriers, and self-sufficiency potential. Montana already attracts off-grid survivalists for this reason. Perk, plenty of water, hunting, and defensible terrain. Downside, if aliens control the skies, mountain passes may become choke points.
Oh, that's very valid. So they said the Rocky Mountains. I think this is a great spot, honestly, because you have a rural spot. If somebody had to try to pick you out on a map, it's going to be hard. If you have ammunition in your house, which I feel like a lot of Wyoming people do, they're going to be strapped for it. Same goes with Montana. So I think this is a good start for number 5. So I will take, yes, I think this is a great start. This is not where
Yeah,
I'd
and
want.
it's
This
just
is where I'd want to be for an alien invasion.
yeah, it's just remote. You have like a lot of like elk and deer there. You can hunt in Idaho and Montana there, but the only problem would be like it eventually gets cold. So how long can you hold out if an alien invasion happens? And will they shut off the electricity? That'll be the real thing to worry about.
Yeah.
And then you're not going to like this one because at number 4, they have Alaska's interior. Why? The vast wilderness, low population density, hard to find if UFOs target big cities, natural resources for survival are abundant. Perk, isolation makes you less obvious of a target. Downside, harsh winters. You better be prepared.
Yeah. And the thing is you're not going to be prepared because you're not going to have any fucking sunlight for fucking months at a time. You're going to get buried in snow. You're not going to be able to leave the house for weeks at a time. You're going to wish an alien invasion occurred when you are in Alaska. The only benefit of Alaska in an alien survival place is if an alien did come to Alaska, they would fucking leave, just like everybody who lives in Alaska should do. Leave Alaska. Why is this even a state? It should be this should be all honestly, all of Area 51 should be in Alaska. Don't let anybody in Alaska. It's a disgrace. It shouldn't even be a state.
Yeah, you heard it here first. Should not be a state. And then at Number 3, we have White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. And I went there when we were driving through to the national park. It says, why? High desert terrain, military testings facility, and a history with advanced aerospace tech. Aliens may already know the area. Roswell is nearby. Perk, military presence and tech research could help humans fight back. Downside, flat terrain makes hiding harder.
Well, if you got the military on your side, who probably already know the aliens well, can maybe negotiate with them, I think this is a great spot. I haven't been to this particular area, but the fact that there's military equipment there and you're in a desert where probably aliens have probably are already familiar with, I can probably agree with that. I'll take the side of ChatGPT here.
All right. And then after that, we have at number 2 the Ozark Mountains in Arkansas and Missouri. Why? Remote, rugged, and full of natural caves for shelter. Rich freshwater resources and farmland make it sustainable long term. Perk, strong prepper community already exists there. Surprise, Arkansas and Missouri. And then downside, getting there in a hurry might be tricky.
Yeah. Well, they already have their bunkers. They already have their caves. They already have their food. People already do that for their tornadoes and shit that they get there anyways. So maybe this should be higher on the list. Um, I mean, it seems like so far ChatGPT is just going with mountain ranges and military equipment. This one actually feels like whether it's an alien invasion, a nuclear holocaust, whatever it may be, like this is a place that you could go to and probably survive for quite some time.
Yeah, I was actually watching, I think it was Forrest Galante's new show, and he was in the Ozark Mountains looking for like a screamer, which ended up being a red wolf. But they ended up going into the caves, and there is like a good amount of like solid unexplored like cave areas. So if you want to just get lost during a UFO invasion, I feel like a cave could be pretty solid.
Yeah.
And then at number 1, we have the Cheyenne Mountain Complex in Colorado. Why? Built into solid granite designed to survive nuclear war and still operational as backup military command. If aliens come in, this is where NORAD would track them. Perk supplies, reinforced bunkers, and military defense systems. Downside, the military might not let civilians in.
Okay. If there's a fucking alien invasion and there's little green whatever the fucking alien is at this point, we don't know. Maybe it's little green guys. If there's an alien invasion and they don't let us into this particular spot, that's when the aliens and the humans go against the government, overthrow the government, and then there's some peace on Earth. If there's an alien invasion and they're not going to let them in, then what's the point of having a government at that point? That just doesn't make sense to me. Otherwise, it seems like most of this list is geared around mountains and caves and military equipment. Seems like this has all of what we need. So just let them into the fucking cave. What's the worst that can happen? An alien invasion? I feel like that's the worst case scenario. So therefore, how about you let them in the fucking cave?
Yeah, and maybe that's where we all come together, and that's the lessons that the aliens are actually just trying to teach us is that we can work together to make it happen.
That's a hallmark moment right there.
But we went over ChatGPT's top 5 places in the United States to survive America. What have you been listening to? What have you been watching this week?
Yeah, so I got bored this week. I got on Tubi and I found a movie. I'm like, this looks like an interesting movie. It's a horror movie from the 60s from Alfred Hitchcock. And the movie is called The Birds. And the movie is literally about this woman is visiting San Francisco. And she's like dropping off a bird because she works in a bird store. And she gives a bird to her friend in San Francisco, and then for some reason, and this isn't explained in the movie, nor is it explained anywhere actually, the birds of the city just start attacking the civilians. And it's supposed to be scary, but it's not scary at all. It's actually just birds just actually causing so much chaos. They're tipping over police cars. They're um, literally killing people with the birds. Like it's literally just awful CGI. Well, it's not even CGI. It's just terrible effects and birds just attacking people. And the whole time it's happening, they're trying to ration like, why are the birds so angry? And the resolution is they don't know. They never know why the birds just attack the people. It's just the birds are getting attacked and they're just angry for no reason. So the solution is the lady is just, how about we get the fuck out of town? Why don't we just leave? So at the end of the movie, they just leave, and that's the end of the movie. So the movie, Alfred
The birds
Hitchcock,
don't follow them.
no, they just leave, and the birds just, and that's it. The birds just cause terror everywhere else. So yeah, Alfred Hitchcock. That's my first Alfred Hitchcock movie. Definitely a slow burn, I would say, and not a movie I would watch again. But I saw just birds attacking people for no reason. I'm like, this looks like a movie I could enjoy. And watching it on maybe some adult edibles makes it a little bit better. So watch a bunch of edibles and watch this movie, and you might get a few laughs.
Yeah, and it was from like the 60s.
Yeah, it's like from this, I think it was like 62. So it was originally like actually scary to people, but now because of the effects being as bad as they are, it's one of those movies that I think is so bad it's good. It's kind of one of those
Yeah.
movies.
No, it has to be. And like you have so many movies back then that like already are kind of bad or but like still iconic because of what they did for their time, and then you just go back and they're hilarious because of the graphics.
The funny part is this movie is like super highly acclaimed, but between like I mean, I think I've seen Psycho, and that's like probably a movie that ages a lot better. But this with just like raining birds and there's no reason why they're mad, just to me, I think is just bad. I think that just makes for a bad movie that they don't explain why the birds are pissed off. And there's no resolution. They're just pissed off and they just drive away and that's the solution. Just think it's kind of lazy to be honest.
Yeah, a little bit. They're like, oh, we can just leave. It's like a metaphor though for people like who stay in their hometown when you're stuck there. There's all this chaos going on, and then since you stay there so long, and you could eventually just leave and then learn that there are greener pastures there. So it's kind of got a
Yeah.
deep meaning to it.
Yeah, I couldn't find a deep meaning for it, but maybe I was too high to enjoy it. But what have you been watching recently?
Um, I haven't like been able to find like anything to watch, so I've just been watching like my go-to show has been the Andy Griffith Show.
Oh, okay.
So I've been watching that the past few weeks, and that's been kind of like it's like a time capsule because it's like in Virginia, and their accents are like deep Southern accents, and I don't really see Virginia as a Southern state anymore. They just kind of seem like the East Coast, like the Northeast version of a Southern state at this point. But it's been like a really cool, I guess, just time capsule where it's just a easy show to watch. And then it's just like a old American small town sitcom where the people just feel like real people in it. And I haven't been able to watch or like find any new shows to watch because they all just feel like over glossy and fake. Where this one, it's like at least it's just like a real show that's funny, and the kid in it is actually pretty funny. The kid who plays Opie. Then you have Don Knotts who plays Barney in it as well. So overall, I've been enjoying the Andy Griffith Show, like just as my kind of go-to when I don't know what to watch.
Is it kind of like a more like a tongue-in-cheek kind of show, like a I Love Lucy, or is it more like sitcom based? I would guess.
Um, it's more like sitcom. There's like a lot of like I guess like life lessons in it, but there's like just a lot of like funny, simple humor. Like there's that episode where Barney and Andy Griffith are talking about investing, and Andy's like, "Oh yeah, if you want to invest, like you should be a coin collector." And he's like, "What do you mean, like a coin collector? You collect rare coins." And, like I have this nickel, and I bought it for like $50. Some guy offered to pay a couple $100 for it because the buffalo on it is facing the wrong way. So it's a rare nickel. It's like one of three. And then he's like, oh, cool, a rare nickel. And he compares it with his nickel. He's like, wait a minute. It's like the same as mine. He's like, yeah, I'm just trying to show how easy it would be for you to fall for a scam. Like if you're trying to invest your money, especially like back then. So there's like a lot of like funny like life lessons and just like kind of subtle humor in it.
Hmm. And where is that on Peacock?
Oh yeah, I've been watching it on Peacock. They have like that, and then the like Rifleman is on there. I've been waiting for like Roy Rogers or the Lone Ranger to get added to one of the streaming platforms because I used to watch both of those a lot when I was younger. It was like that, Dick Van Dyke, I Love Lucy, and then Bonanza as well. Like I want some of those like older shows to be put on the platforms because it's kind of refreshing going back and just feels like real people where it doesn't feel like you're watching a Snapchat filter for 30 minutes.
Yeah, I just feel like it's more innocent too. I think Tubi has Roy Rogers, which is free, so you could watch that with ads. Um, but yeah, there's just like some type of, and the same goes for me with like old music. There's just some sort of like hominess and coziness to older shows. It's more simple. It's less like polished, I would say, which I feel like honestly makes it better. Which is some of the beef. Like I feel like, especially with nowadays with shows, it just seems very, I don't know. There's just too much production behind it. I don't. I'd rather a show be a little bit more bare bones, simple humor, more innocent than what we have nowadays. You know?
Yeah, like at least have a personality, you know? Where like I feel
Yeah.
like it had personality, it had character, and it's cool like kind of like watching an old show like that and just being like taken like almost in a time machine back to a different era like 70 years ago.
Yeah. For me, it's the show. For me, back in the day, was Gilligan's Island. Like watching
Mm.
Gilligan's Island for me felt like I was in the '60s. Like watching, the Skipper and Gilligan and all these other characters in there, and it is nice. I like kind of going back in that time warp. I Love Lucy has that same kind of appeal to it as well. Um, just feeling like you're just back in the '50s for a little bit.
Yeah, It's a Wonderful Life. Everyone watches at Christmas.
Yep, we're almost at that time. 2 months away.
Almost. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's October now. It's getting a little chilly. It's kind of horror movie season right now. So maybe we'll watch a couple of those. I know Conjuring 4 is coming out.
yeah. I might get into it. Don't watch The Birds. I don't know if you guys will like it, but I almost watched The Conjuring 4 in theaters recently, but um, decided to stay home instead.
Yeah. If you don't want to watch The Birds, watch Crackoons.
I don't even want to know what that is, to be honest.
It's
What
about
is the crack?
raccoons on crack. It's a real movie if you look up Crackoons.
Crackoons. Oh man, how do you find this shit?
This one was just like
Oh nice. Oh, let me guess. It's on fucking Amazon.
if you just browse Amazon, you'll see like just click on like a movie like Velocipaster and go under it and scroll through the more like this and you'll find some wild titles.
Oh god, this is real. Jesus Christ. It's just a squirrel on crack. What a sight. A raccoon ingests discarded synthetic drug and mutates into a vicious killer. It rampages through a mountain community, threatening campus tourists and residents. No one is safe from monstrous raccoon's violent onslaught. Oh god.
You're gonna be thinking about that all week now. Like it's
Oh
time to
my god,
watch
do they have
Crackoons.
looks like they have the fucking Big Show in this movie. Oh my god. Yeah, I might check that out. Well, who knows? But that is what we've been watching recently. And we got week 4 covered. We got our grades for the first quarter. We previewed all the games for week 5, reacted to Alien Invasion, hotspots, and what we've been watching. So everyone has been covered briefly. And then we'll be back next Tuesday at 9 o'clock to cover everything else.
Yeah, we packed in a lot of content tonight, so feel free to like or dislike. Just leave a comment below, subscribe if you feel generous. You can find us on all your streaming platforms. But until we are back next week, never a dull moment. Most importantly, stay brick.
Stay brick.